Welcome to the fantasy audiobook. One Piece. Obtain Kaido fruit, become the #1 swordsman in the Rocks era. Chapter 81. Under the power of Golden Lion Shiki's fluttering fruit, a horrifying scene happened. The turbulent seawater broke away from the gravity of the earth and surged up towards the sky, as if the world had been transformed. The huge amount of seawater forms the shape of mighty and ferocious lions. 4 or 5 huge sea lions surrounded Garp, and finally, like a shocking tsunami, they opened their mouths toward Garp, big enough to swallow a ship. Water can carry a boat, but it can also overturn it. The power of seawater forms a terrifying tsunami and has the terrifying power to destroy the world. Garp, don't you want to see the power of my golden lion? I will let you die in the sea today. The golden lion's face is full of domineering and assertive confidence, looking around like an invincible lion, not caring about the world at all. Just so unruly and domineering. Ha ha, golden lion, you are the one who should be buried in the sea today. Garp laughed wantonly, his whole body made a crackling sound, his muscles and veins gushed out, and his blood sounded like a chain. He opened his mouth and shouted, "This kind of attack is interesting." While roaring, he punched out, like a pile driver, hammering hard at the sea lions that were flying over one after another. Bang bang bang, bang bang bang. The huge sea lions exploded one by one under Garp's fierce fist. A cloud of heavy rain fell from the sky, crackling on the sea. This wanton release of the power in his body made Garp feel comfortable, and he immediately said with a big smile, "It's so enjoyable, Golden Lion, come again." Hot blood is burning and boiling in the body. Really awesome. Let Garp indulge and enjoy the feeling. This battle lasted from day to night. Kaido was so sleepy that he couldn't help but yawn. When will the winner be determined? The rumbling sound of battle in the sky made his ears become resistant. He felt that if he kept reading, he might be able to fall asleep later. At first, Kaido felt very excited, just like watching an action movie for the first time, that kind of novel excitement. But if you watch it for several hours, you will develop immunity after watching it for a long time. Unless it is a gorgeous or novel move, it can make him shine. He is simply a film reader. Gradually it reached the state of boring. Who can tell clearly until the last minute? How long can Ares hold on? Akoku put his left hand on the hilt of the sword at his waist and couldn't help but hold the hilt. Ares in sight still maintains a high fighting spirit, but there are already many injuries on his body. And the offensive is not as fierce as it was at the beginning. Strength and speed are diminishing. To Akoku's surprise, Ares' spirit was very strong, and he was still energetic even after fighting for several hours. He couldn't help but admire. This boy Ares' spiritual power is really gifted. There are really no shortcomings. Such a high-intensity battle is a great test for a person's mental will, and the spirit is always in a state of high concentration. Most people cannot stay in this state for long and will become distracted. But Ares is different. Akoku instantly thought of Ares' usual, suicidal, training method. He can persist in training in that violent way. Ares' spirit is far beyond that of others. Perhaps, I have to take the time to teach him how to see and hear Haki. It should be able to improve his strength. He could see that Ares was still a monster, in terms of perception and reaction, even if he didn't have the domineering power of seeing, hearing, and color. At this point, what makes Akoku confused can only be attributed to the tempering of Ares' will, which makes him mentally stronger than ordinary people. Akoku, do you think this boy Ares will not be able to compete with Shiki and Newgate in a year? Silver Axe reached out and touched his chin. Akoku stretched out his hand to stroke the long black beard on his chin, and after pondering for a moment, he said, "It's hard to say, the stronger the strength, the more difficult it will be to grow. Ares is still too young and has not experienced enough battles." Regarding the view put forward by Silver Axe, he is not very sure that Ares will be able to surpass Shiki and Newgate in a year. After all, those two people can also be classified as monsters. In the sky, Zephyr, who had not taken down Ares for a long time, had beads of sweat on his face. While blocking Ares' attack, he shouted at Garp, "Garp, retreat first." There are 2 other officers on the other side's ship, Akoku and Silver Axe. He felt that although he could capture Ares in the end, At that time he was simply not enough to deal with the two powerful leaders of the Rocks pirates. Bang! Moonwalk stepped on the air and made a sonic boom sound, and shot towards Garp like a sharp arrow. Zephyr shouted to Garp with a serious look on his face, "Garp, come back to them tomorrow and continue fighting. Let's call it a day." The terrifying high-temperature flames came, which was the dragon's breath, erupting from Ares. Zephyr, who shattered the flames with one punch, couldn't help but curse, "This guy has such strong physical strength, what a hell." Under his dissuasion, Garp also stopped, and while carelessly picking his nostrils, he said harsh words to the Golden Lion, "Golden Lion, wait until I go back and have enough to eat, and I will fight you tomorrow." As a result, he and Zephyr flew faster than the eagle. Ares wanted to continue fighting, but was stopped by the Golden Lion. "Ares, stop chasing, those two guys are very tough." Although he felt that he could win, he knew that it would be impossible to defeat Garp in a short time. "Why don't you chase after him?" Ares stepped on the flame cloud and flew to the side of the Golden Lion, looking like he was still unfinished. Golden Lion took out his cigar, lit it, and took a long puff. He didn't even have time to smoke while fighting with Garp. "It will take several days to decide the winner. Maybe Marine's support will arrive soon. Even if we win, we won't get anything." Hearing Shiki's explanation, Ares nodded, and the two quickly returned to the deck of the ship. Silver Axe chuckled, walked up and patted Ares's broad and strong shoulder, praising, "What a boy, you are so awesome. You can even compete with Marine Reserve General Zephyr. You are stronger than me. It seems that it won't be long before you can become a leader of the Rocks pirates." Then he winked at Ares and said with a mean smile on his face, "Hey, when there is a beautiful girl, remember to introduce her to me." "Go away, go away." Akoku glared at the lewd Silver Axe, stretched out his hand to pull him away from Ares, and said to Ares, "Don't listen to this old pervert Silver Axe." Then he said with concern, "Let the ship's doctor check you out and make sure you don't leave any hidden diseases. Kaido, go find the ship's doctor." "Oh." Kaido nodded and immediately followed Akoku's instructions to find the ship's doctor. Ares puffed up his muscular chest and smiled, "I'm fine, I'm very resilient." He is very happy. Today's battle with Zephyr made him gain a lot. He learned a lot of fighting skills. As long as he masters them, his strength will improve a lot. This kind of improvement speed is much faster than exercise. Daily exercise is more about tempering your body and making your body stronger. Even if you have strong recovery power, you still need to see the ship's doctor. "It won't take long," the Golden Lion said with concern. Not long after, Kaido brought the ship's doctor to check Ares' body. When the ship's doctor touched Ares' steel-like muscles, he was stunned. In the end, as Ares said, his recovery was very strong and the injury was not serious. And Akoku also had people prepare food. Several hours of high-intensity fighting consumed a lot of energy from Shiki and Ares. After the meal, Ares, bathed in the moonlight, began to cheat, replaying the details of his battle with Zephyr in his mind. Originally in the One Piece anime, he also had some knowledge of the 6 styles. After this battle with Zephyr, I have a deeper experience and understanding of the 6 styles. The first is Moonwalk among the 6 moves. 6 forms as a physical technique that surpasses the limits of human physical ability and is extremely powerful. In combat, it is very practical. Moonwalk uses strong foot power to step on the air to generate strong air-holding force. It can walk in the air like stepping on stairs and move quickly in the sky. What's more important is explosive power and the control and use of body strength. It seems, the last time I was on Garp's warship, it was because of the excessive explosive force that caused me to fly. Ares remembered the last time he was on Garp's warship. He realized the effect of explosive power, but failed to control it well. He smashed the ceiling with his head and flew out. The scene of Zephyr using Mooncloth was replayed frame by frame in his mind. The opponent is indeed a master of physical skills. He can use the instantaneous burst of leg power to move at lightning speed in the air, and even move to the enemy's blind spot to attack. But fortunately, there is a dragon's tail behind Ares' hips, so there is no such thing as a blind spot behind her. Explosive force. Ares bent his knees slightly, tightened his thigh muscles, and stretched the shorts on his legs until they were like wet swimming trunks, clinging to the strong muscles of his thighs. Pieces of hard muscle form an uneven visual effect, and the muscles on the legs are knotted, as if they were pieces of steel and stone bricks, containing amazing power. As he slightly bent his knees, his entire center of gravity shifted and sank, and his curved back was like a cheetah's posture ready to hunt. Power pours into the feet, and then explodes suddenly. Bang! The deck beneath his feet suddenly shattered, and some tiny wood chips scattered everywhere. Ares's huge 4-meter figure immediately flew straight up into the sky like a firework. He knew this was just the beginning. As he soared into the air, he suddenly felt that there was no point of strength under his feet. Gravity and his explosive upward force, coupled with the lack of a point of strength under his feet, made Ares feel that in this state, the body's strength was scattered and difficult to gather together. However, Ares also has excellent physical fitness and physical training, which allows him to still burst out with strength. He raised one foot in the air and stepped on it suddenly. It exploded with powerful force and made a sonic boom sound. The body that had started to slow down in its ascent once again suddenly jumped up a distance of 20 or 30 meters. Ares reflected on the mistake he made with his previous kick. The power is still a bit scattered and not perfectly condensed. Try changing direction. This time, he adjusted the position of his foot and tilted it slightly. The reaction force generated by the burst of force caused Ares to fly out diagonally. Ares had a look of surprise on his face. This is one of the 6 moves, moonwalk. He has already mastered it initially. Ares also knows that he has only just mastered it, and his control over strength, distance, direction, etc. is not yet in a perfect state. As long as he insists on practicing more, he knows that he will definitely be able to catch up with Zephy's use of the 6 postures. Ares was very happy and excited after mastering a new combat skill. The whole person stepped on the air and made a sound, causing ripples in the air, practicing the mooncloth back and forth in the air. Looking at Ares performing moonwalk in the sky, Kaido was completely confused. Boss Ares, you have learned mooncloth. Is this learning talent really possessed by humans? It gave him strong doubts and somewhat inferior. Once again, I was struck by Ares' terrifying talent. There is no harm without contrast. Kaido felt as if he had seen a ghost. The 6 styles in Marine were a combat skill that could only be learned after rigorous training. It would take ordinary people several years to master such skills, but Ares. How long has it been? Less than an hour. So, monster. The golden lion holding the wine bottle grinned. Kaido, don't you want to witness Ares becoming the strongest creature? You will definitely see that day. If even Ares can't become the strongest creature in the sea, then no one is qualified. He looked up at the sky and saw the excitement on Ares's face and his persistence in training. If this guy is not the strongest creature, then there is no justice. Ares's learning talent is too strong, but sometimes learning too much is not a good thing. Akoku also had a look of admiration and envy on his face. He looked at the golden lion and said, Shiki, how about you find a time to remind Ares so that he doesn't spend too much energy on some combat skills that are not very strong. Bit off more than you can chew. Ares is about swordsmanship, taijutsu, physical training, hockey, devil fruit, 6 styles, etc. These things are too energy consuming. Akoku feels that if he concentrates on practicing 2 or 3 of them, as long as he can cultivate them to a superb level, he will be among the top experts in this sea. Gia ha ha ha. If Ares wants to practice, just follow him. The golden lion smiled brightly, and then asked enthusiastically, don't you think a monster without shortcomings? Is it the truly terrifying monster? Almighty monster. Akoku Yangtian looked at the huge Ares in the sky, whose muscles were full of explosive beauty. Then he smiled and said, yes, a monster without weaknesses is the most terrifying monster. I couldn't help but longing and looking forward to it. If Ares grows into a monster without weaknesses, what will it bring to the sea? At this time, Ares was immersed in his training. Repeated attempts and adjustments made him more proficient in controlling moonwalk, and he began to have a mental understanding of how to control distance, speed, and strength. The 6 styles moonwalk was quickly mastered by Ares at a speed that ordinary people could not imagine. The sea breeze blows in waves. Silver waves played on the sea surface, reflecting the shining stars in the night sky and the bright moon like a jade plate. On the deck of a marine warship, Garp pressed his nostrils with his little finger and asked Zephyr, Zephyr, is that kid really that strong? You couldn't even take down Ares. As a fellow comrade, Garp knows the strength of Marine Reserve General Zephyr. Among the entire huge Marine organization, he is also one of the strongest Marines. After several hours of fighting, he has not been able to win the Bloody Hand, Ares with a bounty of 40 million. And Ares, the little pirate that he easily defeated a month ago, has become so powerful. It was quite a surprise to Garp. Ares is very strong, with physical strength, recovery ability, endurance, and combat awareness skills. He doesn't look like a newcomer who just joined the Rocks Pirates at all. Zephyr looked solemn. This is the most terrifying new pirate he has ever seen, even more terrifying than Rocks, who rose like a comet back then. As a Marine Reserve General, he is full of confidence in his own strength. The result was that he got frustrated in front of a new pirate and failed to defeat him. Zephyr looked at the sea shrouded in moonlight in the distance, feeling very heavy. Fleet Admiral is right, we should pay more attention to Ares. Garp, do you know what a monster that guy is? Hearing Zephyr's question, Garp looked at Zephyr with a look of curiosity and confusion, and asked blankly, what's wrong? Zephyr continued with a palpitating look on his face, while fighting me, Ares's combat experience and skills improved rapidly. I even saw your shadow on his fists. Perhaps he learned some fighting skills from you last time you fought him. At this moment, his mind was completely occupied by the figure of Ares. He fought with Ares for several hours today. Ares left such a deep impression on him that it also gave rise to a trace of fear in his strong and determined heart. He was afraid that all his fighting skills would be learned by that guy, and he was afraid that such a monster would grow rapidly. Become a pirate who is not inferior to Rocks, or even surpass Rocks. My shadow. Garp suddenly widened his eyes and showed an incredible expression. You said, that boy learned my skills. I just punched that kid a few times, and he secretly learned my boxing skills. That kid has a bald head and looks like a big, honest and stupid guy. How smart is he? Garp's outlook was shocked. He thought that Ares, a guy who loved fighting and had tenacious vitality, was just like him. All it depends on is will and brute strength plus talent. Yes, he must have secretly learned your skills. His talent is terrifying, and he can learn the opponent's fighting skills from the battle. Zephyr's eyes had a strong look of fear. In addition, there are also Akoku and Silver Axe, the leaders of the Rocks Pirates, on the pirate ship, so he has not yet unleashed his full strength. The eyes flickered, looking very worried. Bloody hands. Ares, this sea is about to fall into turmoil. The moonlight is beautiful. The white moonlight shines on the sea, making the waves on the sea shine like shining silver. Zephyr knows. With Rox's character and ambition, this sea will definitely usher in an unprecedented battle in the near future. Garp didn't think as much as Zephyr did. He also looked at the sea in front of him and said, this big and round moon really looks like a donut ring. If there were donuts as big as the moon in the sky, they would probably be enough for me to eat for a lifetime. Quote. Zephyr's face darkened, and the questions he was thinking about were instantly destroyed by Garp's words. The moon sets and the sun rises. After a night's rest, it was already the next day. The marine standing far behind the pirate ship is like a Tibetan mastiff driving sheep. The next day's battle kicked off as scheduled. Marine is really like a mad dog. The golden lion looked at Zephyr and Garp flying in the air with an unhappy expression. He immediately took out the two swords from his waist and flew directly into the air. Ares is naturally not to be outdone. He is also eager to fight. He just learned the moonwalk among the 6 moves from Zephyr yesterday. There are other techniques such as finger gun and iron block, which he hasn't had time to try and learn yet. It just so happens that we can learn more from Zephyr so that we can practice on our own in the future. Zephyr, let's continue the battle that didn't end yesterday. Ares roared excitedly. An extremely frightening aura erupted from his body, as oppressive as a violent wind. The instantaneous burst of power made Ares shoot straight towards Zephyr in the sky like a crossbow, and the muscles of his chiseled arms tightened. Punch out. Suddenly, strong winds surged, and the surrounding air seemed to be sucked out instantly. Zephyr's face turned solemn and his eyes trembled slightly. This kid actually learned moonwalk overnight. My heart was shocked. He recognized the familiar 6 postures at a glance. It was so easy to recognize. No time to think too much. Ares's fist, which contained violent and domineering power, was wrapped in thick air waves, shaking the air. In just one breath, Zephyr appeared in front of him. Big Ape King Fist. Armed. Blast punch. Boom. The sound was like a thunderbolt exploding from the blue, sending up terrifying powerful winds that scattered in all directions. Their eyes faced each other. Zephyr once again saw the amazing fighting spirit in Ares's eyes. The battle begins. On a pirate ship. Akoku looked gloomy. It's not a good thing if this continues. Is Marine planning to wipe us out on the sea? On this vast sea, separated from the territory of the Rock's pirates, they are like blind men in this vast sea. He has no information about other islands, or even Marine's movements. Silver Axe also put away his usual casual expression, and said in a low voice, "What I'm most worried about now is our supplies." Ares and Kaido eat an astonishing amount of food. In addition, the battle with Marine Garp and Zephyr consumes their physical strength, so their food intake is larger than usual. The issue of food is not a big deal, but fresh water resources, wine and fresh vegetables and fruits are issues we need to face. On the sea, lack of fresh fruits and vegetables will lead to scurvy over time. Once they suffer from scurvy, patches of red Madara will appear on the skin of the crew. As long as you press it lightly, the skin will break and bleed. As the condition worsens, people suffering from scurvy may experience oral bleeding, tooth loss, and even constant high fever. It will kill you. Therefore, scurvy is also called the sea devil, which is a nightmare for everyone who sails on the sea. Akoku frowned, looked at Zephyr and Garp who were fighting Ares and Shiki, and said in a heavy voice, "Marine will never let us easily obtain these supplies. Go and bring me the map." Silver Axe took out a navigation map made of sheepskin that was corrosion-resistant and waterproof. Taking the nautical map, Akoku looked at it carefully. He held the nautical map in one hand and gestured with the fingers of his right hand on the nautical map. He suddenly frowned. He asked Silver Axe, "How long can the supplies on our ship last?" "It only takes about 2 days." Silver Axe replied. Hearing this answer, Akoku's mood became even heavier. He bit his lip and said, "The closest to here is the Kingdom of Prudence. This is a powerful country. It is a member of the world government and has a good fighting capacity. It's not easy to take food away from this tiger's mouth, and Marine." Silver Axe carried the huge axe on his shoulder, with a ferocious expression on his face, and grinned, "No matter how difficult it is, don't we have to give it a try? There must be a lot of beauties in the Kingdom of Prudence. It's time to let off some steam." Akoku rolled up the navigation chart and looked at the fierce battle in the sky. The brilliant attacks made his eyes reflect bursts of dazzling light. Indeed, as Silver Axe said, no matter whether there is danger or not, you must grab food and fruits. Otherwise, once you suffer from scurvy, if you do not supplement vegetables and fruits, death will be the only thing waiting for the patient. Most of the people on the ship will die. The fighting on the second day continued from morning to afternoon. Akoku also told the Golden Lion the bad news about the lack of food on the ship, and also told him the way to supplement it, which was trading. If the deal fails, the only option is to grab it hard. Even Golden Lion Shiki directly decided to use the usual style of pirates grab. After returning to the ship, Ares replenished his energy by eating, and then began to practice another move among the 6 moves. Point gun. One of the 6 forms, it is a physical technique that is said to be as powerful as a gun firing bullets. Gather all the strength of the whole body on the index finger, and use the hardened fingers to attack with lightning and flint, so that the fingers have strong penetrating power like bullets, and can easily penetrate the human body. Yesterday's battle. Ares' strong physique was broken by Zephyr with one finger. This attack method is extremely powerful when used in the hands of a strong person. First concentrate the power on your fingers, and then use explosive power and speed to deliver a powerful blow. Ares raised his arm, stretched out his index finger, and tensed his muscles to bend his arm. Sudden. The arm exerts force, the bent arm is straightened, and the fingers are driven out quickly. His powerful strength is enough to produce the sound of breaking through the air even with just a superficial practice. The sharp force of the fingers drives the strong wind. Ares smiled slightly. The effect is not bad, but this is just the beginning of practice, and it is far from enough. In his mind, he was not only recalling the finger gun skills Zephyr displayed when he fought with Zephyr. He was still recalling in his mind the 6 techniques performed by members of CP9 during the Judiciary Island chapter in the anime. Its members, Jabra, an Esper of the animal type, the canine fruit, and the wolf form, and Lucci, the Esper of the cat fruit and the leopard form, are the most accomplished in finger guns. Think back to CP9. Ares raised a lot of questions. Lucci can use the finger gun to attack from a long distance, and even use the finger gun to create a flame attack effect. My physical fitness is far stronger than that of CP9 members, so I will definitely be able to make stronger finger gun attacks. Physical fitness is Ares' strength. In addition, there are also animal type and phantom type devil fruits, and the power of the finger gun can definitely be sublimated. Call out, call out. Ares kept poking the air with his index finger, and the sharp finger force made a rapid shooting sound like a bullet. It seemed to be going too fast, making the air roar. Practice again and again. After practicing with the right hand and the left hand, I even opened the bow from left to right, just like 2 dragons playing with a pearl. Excellent handwork. It's much more powerful than flower hands. Kaido's huge eyes are full of obsession and admiration. At the age of 17, he is not yet the all-powerful, thundering 8 trigrams, the strongest creature Kaido in the future. Now he, a bit like Ares' little fanboy, Ares' strong strength and abnormal talent completely conquered him. Moreover, Ares' unique personality charm has a special attraction for Kaido, who is also obsessed with making his body and strength stronger. Like a magnet, it holds tightly. Boss Ares, can you teach me how to practice the 6 styles? Kaido looked at Ares with expectant eyes. Ares nodded with a kind smile on his face. Want to learn? I'll teach you. Very good. Boss Ares is so nice. Kaido raised his arms happily and shouted. Ever since the 3rd day, Zephyr, who fought with Ares again, was confused again. How did this kid learn the finger gun in the 6 styles in one day? Those sharp dragon claws, coupled with Ares' powerful physique and armed domineering aura, make the finger gun displayed extremely powerful. Simply terrible. The penetrating power is extremely powerful. The 4th day, Zephyr was once again shocked beyond measure by the iron block used by Ares. The iron block in the 6th form was also learned by this guy. Learn 6 postures in one day. Is he a human or a ghost? Ares, this guy, has learned the moonwalk, finger gun, and iron blocks among the 6 moves in just a few days. There are also the slashes he can make. This kid has learned most of the 6 postures. Moreover, Ares continued to apply the skills he learned in daily battles, and he became more and more proficient in the 6 moves. What kind of pervert is Ares with bloody hands? As a Marine Reserve general, Zephyr has always insisted on his own justice. He was a late bloomer and had a strong heart. But now when facing the talented monster Ares, I couldn't help but feel strong fear in my heart. If this monster continues to grow, it will become Marine's enemy again. Zephyr, the Marine general who is known as not killing, also had the idea of eliminating Ares. The bloody hand Ares must be captured. Once he grows up, he will become a killing tool for Rocks to realize his ambition. Unstoppable. Once you make a decision in your mind. The power in Zephyr's fist suddenly increased a bit, and the muscles on his arms were knotted, as if they were made of iron bars, containing amazing power. His entire little arm was a black iron color. Known as Black Arm, he is naturally extremely powerful with his domineering armament. Thick arms packed with explosive power. Punch out. It made the air vibrate violently. The muscles all over Ares' body suddenly swelled, and the criss-crossing veins were like giant pythons wrapped around his muscles that were made of steel and reflected dark golden light. Iron. Clang. The fierce and domineering power of Zephyr's fist hit Ares' chest, and there was a sound of iron hammering. Ares only felt a force strong enough to crack a monument and crack a stone suddenly impact his body. After receiving this punch forcefully, the energy and blood in the body surged, and the muscles and fascia trembled. The whole person's figure suddenly flew backwards like a discharged cannonball. What a hard body. Zephyr's face darkened. In the past few days of fighting, he had already known that Ares' body was extremely strong, and after learning how to use iron, Ares controls the power of the body more perfectly. As the 6 postures that develop the limits of the human body, it can make people break through the limits of human beings and become Superman. Moreover, the 6 postures can also allow people to control their body's strength more perfectly. With the blessing of iron blocks, Ares's defensive power is simply astonishing. He took Zepha's armed and domineering punch, but only the blood surged in his body. Under that strong recovery power, the surging chi and blood calmed down in a moment. A flash of surprise flashed in Ares's tiger-like eyes, and he grinned. This is not enough, I want to build my body to a level of hardness that surpasses the unparalleled sharp sword even without the use of iron blocks. That punch hit my body and made all the muscles in my body feel shocked. Very cool. Very happy. It's much more comfortable than any facial gun. Ares twisted his neck and made a heart-stopping sound. He exuded a strong, brave, and terrifying aura like a demon. Excitedly shouted towards Zepha. Zepha, let's have a good fight today. The aura all over his body rose sharply, and he also activated the dragon form and exerted force with his big clawed feet. A sound exploded. The air produced terrifying ripples visible to the naked eye. Ares rampaged like a wild dragon, waving his arms covered with blue scales. The blood in his body is like a surging flood, bringing him extremely tyrannical and terrifying power. Spread your arms and start beating like a wolf and a tiger. Lightning. 5 consecutive punches. The punch was as fast as lightning, and in the blink of an eye, several afterimages of Ares' arms appeared in front of Zepha. It was so violent that the air was blown away. Armed, arm power double level. The size of Zepha's arms suddenly doubled, making his arms as thick as Ares' arms, almost like elephant legs. The suddenly enlarged arms caused his strength to skyrocket. The aura throughout his body has been rising to a very terrifying level, and the cloak of justice behind him is swaying crazily in the wind. Bang, bang, bang. The fists of the two collided fiercely in the air. The strong air currents generated by the collision caused rough waves in the sea. Zepha, who burst out with stronger power, began to suppress Ares. The jet black arm blasted Ares' body back in the air. Has he always been hiding his strength? Ares looked stern and felt the increasing power in Zepha's fist, which was constantly impacting his body through his fist. He also understood. The opponent seems to have used stronger power. Originally, Ares wanted to take a closer look at Zepha's swollen arm, but now he can only be busy defending. Armed, black arm Mie. This time, Zepha's armored and hardened arm rose up with a black-purple flame that enveloped his arm. The intuitive feeling given to Ares is that Zepha's fist has become more powerful. Not only was Ares not afraid, but his golden vertical pupils shrank, like the hands of a clock, flashing an excited light. Right, that's the power. Let this power forge and hone me. Like an extremely bellicose madman, the muscles all over his body suddenly bulged like a giant python. A living humanoid, Tyrannosaurus. No, Ares is now a dragon. The arm turned red, and even the blue scales turned into blood red, just like a monster crawling out of the sea of blood. Blood arms, 20 lightning punches. Facing Zepha's stormy offensive, Ares is also firing on all cylinders. Bang bang bang. The punches hit the flesh, and Ares also received a lot of punches from Zepha, and of course he was hit by Zepha several times. The battle was extremely fierce. That casual blow was enough to shatter a ship's fist and land on the body, but Ares and Zepha continued to attack each other regardless. Extremely brave and bloody. At this moment, almost everyone was stunned. Boss Ares, you must hold on. Kaido was so nervous that he clenched his fists tightly, and his palms became sweaty. If he hadn't learned moonwalk yet, he would have been eager to rush forward and fight with Ares. Now Ares is at a disadvantage, making him extremely nervous and worried. Kaido was not the only one on the ship who was worried about Ares. Akoku frowned and said, Zepha is serious about it, even if today is not the time to fight to the death. It'll be over in 2 days. He knew that the other party might guess that there was not much food supply on the ship, which was a sign of an all-out battle. There are only a few hours of flight left to the Kingdom of Prudence. Could it be that Marine has contacted the King of the Kingdom of Prudence in advance and asked them to assist Marine in dealing with us? Silver Axe's face looked extremely gloomy. If the real situation is as he speculated, then this time it will be different for everyone on the ship. It's all a huge crisis. But in order to survive, no matter what dangers are waiting for them, they must all plunge in, otherwise once the resources on the ship are exhausted, they will have no choice but to wait for death. Akoku glanced at the other pirates on the deck from the corner of his eye and said with a heavy heart, I wonder how many of these guys will be alive when we return to Beehive Island this time. He didn't care too much about the life and death of other pirates. But he was used to the life of a pirate who licked blood from his knife edge, and the pirate companions around him could be said to have changed one after another, which made him feel a little sad. Fighting rages in the sky. Zephy's powerful and heavy punch suddenly hit Ares's chest. The power of the black arm made Ares's tiger-like body look like a boulder falling at high speed from the sky. It crashed into the sea with a loud thud. Did you fall into the sea? As an ability user, prepare to be swallowed by the sea. The light in Zephy's eyes dimmed, with a touch of regret. To be honest, he wanted to capture Ares and take him back to Marine for education, and maybe he could become an excellent Marine. Saw the scene where Ares fell into the water. Akoku, Silver Axe and others on the pirate ship all looked panicked. Boss Ares, he fell into the sea. The pirates on the deck were in chaos and even screamed loudly. Akoku jumped up without hesitation, jumped into the sea with a splash, and swam towards the direction where Ares fell into the water. Following Akoku was Kaido, who also jumped into the sea with an anxious look on his face, swinging his thick arms to make waves splash high. I won't let you save him. Zephyr used Moonwalk and quickly appeared in front of Akoku on the sea surface, blocking him. Lanjiao, lifting his legs and kicking his feet, he picked up the airflow in the air and formed a bright blue slash, whizzing towards Akoku. Sensing the dangerous aura, Akoku held the long sword in one hand and made a blocking movement. Clang, he shouted towards Kaido. Kaido, I will leave Ares to you, Zephyr will stop him. The arm suddenly exerted force and shattered the slash. At the moment when the slash was shattered, Akoku saw a dense burst of slashes coming quickly like a goddess scattering flowers. He also quickly waved the sword in his hand. Ding, ding, ding. The crunching sound continued, and Akoku in the sea was like a small boat, swaying with the waves on the rough sea. Such terrain, for him, it is extremely disadvantageous. As the saying goes, hit the high and the low, the stupid, makes sense, not to mention that he is still in the sea. With Akoku blocking him, Kaido swam towards Ares' position with a worried look on his face, bursting out at the fastest speed. With Ares' huge body and excessive weight, he will sink very quickly. Once it sinks too deep, he won't be able to rescue Ares. Boss Ares, I'm coming to save you right now, you have to hold on. Kaido made an anxious voice. Waving his arms vigorously, every second of time must be earned for him. Kaido also quickly swam to the place where Ares fell into the water. After taking a deep breath with his mouth wide open, he plunged into the sea. The clear and transparent water allowed him to see a black spot in the sea at a glance. That black spot is still falling towards the dark seabed. Oops, Kaido's heart sank, and he immediately swam towards Ares quickly. However, as he dived deeper, the pressure of the surrounding seawater increased, and coupled with the decrease in oxygen, his speed became slower and slower. I can only watch Ares fall into the sea. Ah, Gulu Gulu. Kaido opened his mouth to shout Ares, but when he opened his mouth, a large amount of salty seawater poured into his mouth. The oxygen leaked from his mouth formed a series of bubbles rising in the seawater. With no choice but to swim towards the sea quickly. In sea water, Ares, who was wrapped in the cold seawater, was quite conscious when he fell into the sea. He clearly felt the restraint from the seawater on the devil fruit. It feels like your whole body has been squeezed dry. It feels like you have been hungry for several days, without any strength in your body. The whole person melted like ice and snow falling on the ground. A large amount of seawater poured into his body from his mouth. Gulu, Gulu. The feeling of choking on water made Ares very uncomfortable, and his whole consciousness began to blur. No, I can't die yet. My dream journey has just begun. I want to forge myself into a famous sword that surpasses the supreme big sword. The strong desire to survive made Ares wake up completely and opened his eyes suddenly. My mind began to think of ways to break the situation. My body's strength is rapidly passing away. If this continues, sooner or later I will sink to the bottom of the sea and die from lack of oxygen. He is very anxious at this moment, because if he continues like this, he will die. Ares tried hard to stimulate the power of his body, but it seemed that the terrifying power of his originally powerful body had been drained away. It seemed like the smoke had disappeared. He could feel seawater filling his respiratory tract and alveoli through his nose and mouth, and even his heartbeat began to slow down. Are you really going to die? After I die, will I go to Li Yang's world? This thought appeared in Ares' mind uncontrollably. No, I can't die. Another thought suddenly appeared in Ares' mind, igniting a strong desire to survive again. Power. Without power, what else do I have? I still have devil fruit powers. In the dark sea, Ares' eyes suddenly lit up. Scenes of memories emerged in his mind, one of which was when Straw Hat Luffy was fighting Aaron and was carried by a boulder and sank to the bottom of the sea. In order to allow Luffy to breathe, Ken forcefully grabbed Luffy's head, stretched his neck dozens of meters from the bottom of the pond in Aaron Park, and dragged him to the shore. Just so Luffy can breathe. In the second act, Marine General Aokiji was shot down into the sea by Whitebeard. The scene that instantly froze the sea. Both retained their devil fruit abilities in the sea. Help! Ares was so happy that he directly used his devil fruit ability, Blue Dragon form. The body suddenly transformed into a giant dragon hundreds of meters tall. Although the seawater that restrains the devil fruit's ability can drain away his power, it cannot drain Ares' physical strength. And Ares discovered that seawater can restrain devil fruit, but that doesn't mean that devil fruit's ability disappears. Ares transformed into a blue dragon, and the suffocating feeling of seawater pouring into his body disappeared. I feel like I can breathe in the sea. The fish fruit gave me the ability to breathe in the sea. I'm not afraid of the sea anymore. Ares was filled with joy. He has always been worried that seawater will become his nemesis, because it is a recognized fact in this sea that seawater can restrain those with abilities. However, now Ares can still maintain the abilities and properties of the devil fruit in seawater. Incarnated in the form of a green dragon, he is as comfortable as a fish in the sea. Even though I can't use the ability of fire in seawater, I rely on my body's hardness and ability to breathe in the sea. No one is my opponent in the sea. In this regard, Ares is very confident. The huge dragon tail swung, and the green dragon he transformed into swam freely on the bottom of the sea, no slower than the powerful fishmen. Like a free fish, swimming in the sea. Ares thought of some of the swimming skills he learned from Sebastian, a fish man, and some of the special fighting skills of the fishmen. A flash of excitement flashed in the huge dragon's eyes. With his strong body and the ability to learn the fighting skills of the fishmen, you can definitely dominate this sea and become the master of the ocean. In the sea, I am invincible. Ares, who transformed into a blue dragon, swam quickly toward the sea like a terrifying Poseidon-like beast, although most of his body's strength was drained away by the sea water. For Ares, who can breathe in sea water, even a little bit of strength in his body can allow him to swim freely in the sea. Bang! The huge and ferocious dragon head of Ares broke through the sea and brought up a raging wave. Hold head high. Zephyr, our battle is not over yet. An extremely excited and joyful shout came out of his mouth, and a huge dragon-shaped body hundreds of meters long emerged from the sea. Just out of the sea, Ares felt the surging power in his body appear in his body again. An extremely terrifying momentum suddenly erupted from the dragon's body, setting off waves of violent winds that swept across the entire sky, and the air shook violently. Heart palpitating, I felt a strong and suffocating sense of oppression coming from a savage beast. The strong wind raged over Zephyr's body, and Ares, voice boiling with fighting spirit, made Zephyr's face turn pale in an instant. He looked at the majestic blue dragon in the sky in disbelief. Unable to control himself, he exclaimed, "What? He is still alive. Isn't Ares a person with abilities? He should definitely die if he falls into the sea." Zephyr's cognitive view of the world has received an unprecedented impact. How could he believe what was happening in front of him? It's simply outrageous, outrageous. Gate of opening, outrageous to the core. The appearance of Ares shocked Zephyr so much that he became distracted during the battle. Poof! A sharp slash suddenly struck his shoulder blade, causing a piece of hot blood to splash into the air. Ah! Zephyr's face suddenly turned pale, and he screamed and hurriedly reached out to cover his shoulders. He stared at Akoku, who was slashing with cold eyes. I knew Ares wouldn't die so easily. Akoku breathed a sigh of relief, His face showed joy, and he raised the corner of his mouth. He will become a man who surpasses the unparalleled sword. After all, this sea cannot restrain such a beast. He also looked at the mighty and domineering giant green dragon in the sky, with a touch of strong expectation. Ares, you will definitely realize your dream. At the same time, he couldn't help but have a strong curiosity in his heart. How did Ares save himself? When Kaido surfaced and failed to save Ares, his heart froze. Hey, that's great, Boss Ares is fine. Kaido laughed happily. A man whom I, Kaido, approve of will never die so easily. Ares is the man who wants to become the strongest creature in the world. He wants to witness Ares walking to the top of the sea with his own eyes, and witness Ares becoming the most terrifying creature in the world. The appearance of Ares. The huge size also made Golden Lion and Garp choose to stop fighting. Garp's eyes were full of solemnity. That's Ares' ability. The ability of the phantom species is really terrifying. This was the first time he had seen such a huge phantom creature. Just the size of the mountain, which is hundreds of meters long, is enough to scare countless people to death. And there was a flash of light in his eyes, and he murmured excitedly, "Such a monster, it must be very exciting to fight. I've had enough of the boring feeling of bombarding mountains." Garp believes it. Such Ares will definitely be able to bring him a more enjoyable, comfortable and exciting fighting experience than the Golden Lion. Ares' sharp gaze shot at Zephyr. A humane smile appeared on the ferocious dragon's face, and the corners of his mouth opened to reveal sharp teeth. "Zephyr, let's continue the battle we just started." This time, he did not change into the dragon form, but directly chose to fight Zephyr in the blue dragon form. Dragon, breath, Shenlong, tail swing. Fiery flames erupted from the mouth, and at the same time, the huge dragon tail rolled up massive air waves to form a bright blue sword light dozens of meters long. The flames run through the sky and the earth. The sharp sword light tears the air. Armed, black arm mystery. In an instant, Zephyr's entire body, including the purple suit and white cloak of justice, suddenly turned pitch black. It was as if his whole body had turned into shiny black steel. Black and purple arrogance appeared all over his body, making Zephyr look like a dark devil. The powerful fist suddenly blasted out. Terrifying ripples suddenly appeared in the air. To be precise, Zephyr's punch had a shock wave-like effect. The colorless and transparent fist force compresses the air and flies out, forming a column. Boom! The blazing flames slammed into the energy wave in the air, and stopped when they encountered strong obstacles. Boom! Another punch struck Ares, and the dragon's tail was slashed, which was no less impressive than the great swordsman's slash. Let that powerful slash break into pieces. However, Zephyr still did not stop. He turned on all his weapons, which was extremely draining of physical strength. The energy consumption and load exerted on the body by blasting out such an energy shock wave is far beyond what ordinary moves can match. The strengthened 6 style moves and his powerful armed color domineering were able to carry out such an attack. The 6 postures are not just about constantly pushing the limits of the body. In terms of combat, everyone's understanding and strength are different, and the attacks and damage they cause are also different. The power of the 6 styles and mysteries, used by Marine Reserve General Zephyr, is naturally extraordinary. Every punch comes out, all with a unique neighing sound in the air. The sound effect when firing lasers is exactly the same as that of Kizaru, the later Marine general who had not joined Marine at this time but the Dirty Flash Man. The speed exceeded the speed of sound. Bang! When the energy wave blasted by Zephyr hit Ares' body, the extremely hard flesh was like a compressed sponge. The yellow belly is deeply sunken and a huge pit appears. When the powerful impact fell on Ares, Ares felt a sharp pain as sharp as a cone. In this painful moment, punch after punch, energy shock waves hit his body. It was like a person constantly punching a sponge with his fist, and fist marks were deeply sunk into the sponge. Being able to create such a visual effect on Ares' body, which is harder than steel, is enough to imagine how terrifying and powerful Zephyr's strength is. Ares gritted his teeth, not that he didn't make any counterattacks. But the body was unable to launch a counterattack under the violent impact again and again. The whole body was bent and twisted by the blast, and it was completely out of control. Pain. It was the only feeling in his mind. A large amount of blood flowed out of the tightly closed dragon's mouth, rushing up the dragon's body to its throat, and flowed out of the body unstoppably. The flow of blood. The severe pain filled Ares's golden vertical pupils with frightening red light, making them look like two huge red lanterns. Aroused the ferocity in the body. Hold head high. The dragon's roar shook the heavens. There is a feeling of thunder shaking the eardrums and heart. The howls of pain were mixed with strong will. Large black and red lightning suddenly appeared in the sky, forming a huge net. Staggering across the sky, terrifying black-red lightning made a sizzling sound, driving away the sunlight and making the whole world dim in an instant. Ares, who transformed into a blue dragon, once again became the focus of the audience. Majestic and majestic, overwhelming the entire audience in an instant. Conquerors, dominance. The pupils in Zepha's eyes suddenly shrank, and he was suddenly shocked. This guy actually has the qualifications of a king. This moment of confusion brought his stormy offensive to an abrupt halt. The offensive stopped. Ares also recovered, and a mouthful of blood spurted out, splashing into the sky. The scarlet eyes were full of hostility, staring coldly at Marine Reserve General Zepha with a murderous intent. Ha ha, it's a very powerful force. I haven't felt such pain in my body for a long, long time. Black Arm, Zepha, fighting with you is so fun. It's so exciting. The dragon's mouth, which was full of sticky blood, roared and filled the air with a strong smell of blood. And Ares' ferocious face instantly turned red and smoked. Blood Arms reappears. The huge dragon head descended from the sky with its winding and huge dragon body, and charged towards Zepha. Madman. Zepha looked at Ares, who was a little crazy and couldn't help but cursed angrily. Ares, who had suffered dozens of punches from him, was still able to attack him and maintain his will. The rising fighting spirit made him even more chilling and frightened. Bloody hands. Ares is simply a fighting madman, crazier than Garp. He had no choice but to fight him with a fist. The sounds of thunderous collisions and battles are endless. This time the battle lasted 3 to 4 hours longer than the previous 3 days. The battle lasted 12 or 3 hours. When Ares and the Golden Lion returned to the ship, Ares had many wounds on his body, and even several of his hard ribs were broken. This is the most serious injury he has suffered in many battles. Even the powerful recovery power of the Phantom Beast, the Blue Dragon form, cannot be recovered quickly. After all, his opponent is Marine Reserve General, Black Arm Zepha. Ares, that guy Zepha was very aggressive today. Akoku also looked at the blue and red wounds on Ares's body and the swollen and bruised muscles with a palpitating expression. It was horrifying to watch. He said angrily, if Ares hadn't been strong enough, I'm afraid he would have been defeated long ago. When Ares grows up, he will defeat Zepha sooner or later and vent his bad temper today. The ship's doctor is also giving Ares some painkillers and anti-inflammatory drugs. The potion stimulates the wound. After these years of brutal training, Ares's tolerance for pain is beyond imagination, and he is quite like Guangdong's style of scraping bones to heal wounds. He had a confident smile on his face. Don't worry, I feel like I'm getting stronger quickly. I'll be able to defeat him before long. Such a violent fight is equivalent to tempering his body. The power and impact brought by Zepha's fists are more effective than when he hits his body with an iron rod. Fighting can also hone your power skills, willpower, etc. It's simply killing 2 birds with 1 stone. Even Ares wishes to have such high-intensity battles every day. Hey, I believe in Boss Ares. Kaido laughed from the side, seemingly influenced by Ares, and he was also eager to fight. Boss Ares, when I learn moonwalk, I can fight side by side with you in the sky. He also secretly vowed in his heart that he would never be unable to stand beside Ares and fight together like he was now. Watching Ares fall into the sea. By the way, Ares, how did you save yourself after falling into the sea? Silver Axe interjected and asked. He was very curious about this question. This question also attracted the attention of Akoku and the Golden Lion. Golden Lion, who is also an ability user, also knows that sea water is the nemesis of devil fruit, and even he always avoids falling into the sea. Once a devil fruit user falls into the sea, he or she will escape death. Everyone focused their attention on Ares, who also replied, I thought I was going to die, but then I remembered that I ate the animal-type fish fruit. Then I transformed into a blue dragon and gained the ability to breathe underwater. Fish fruit. Golden Lion looked startled and said in surprise, "This is the first time I heard that there is a fish-fruit category in the animal department." Akoku was also surprised, it's really rare. Most of the animals are dog fruits, cat fruits, snake fruits and the like. Devil fruit is indeed a very mysterious and powerful thing. No one knows how devil fruit appears, and no one knows how devil fruit is formed. Devil fruit is widely spread in the sea, but where did it come from and how did it form? It's still a mystery to this day. Gia ha ha ha. No matter how it is formed, as long as it can obtain strong power, Aries can breathe in seawater, and there will no longer be the disadvantage of seawater restraint. The Golden Lion did not care about Akoku's question. Instead, he laughed happily. Aries was able to ignore the restraint of the seawater, which made him extremely happy. Akoku suddenly laughed. Yes, no one has solved the secret of the devil fruit yet, but it does not prevent Aries from being free in the sea from now on. He continued. In the future, whether it is the sky, land or sea, they will all become the battlefield for Aries. Subsequently, Akoku motioned the Golden Lion to leave with his eyes. He had something to say, and then the two of them came to the stern of the boat. Once we reached the stern, there was no one around. Akoku whispered, "We must act tonight. Once the people on the ship know that there is not much food, there will definitely be a riot. And just in time for the end of the battle, Marine has no time to pursue him." The Golden Lion nodded, took a deep breath from the cigar on his lips and said in a deep voice, "Okay, then I will use my ability to make the ship fly, so that I can reach the kingdom of Prudence quickly. It can also be more hidden. Enter the city directly from the air, grab the needed supplies, and leave immediately. When the vision is dim at night, even if a huge pirate ship appears in the sky, it will not be easily discovered as it is during the day. They also understand that this action must be fast. You must complete the robbery mission before Marine pursues you." Shiki asked Akoku, "How much information do you know about the Kingdom of Prudence?" "The Kingdom of Prudence has at least 100,000 troops on standby. I heard that King Elisabello I was also a strong man and defeated many famous pirates on the sea." Akoku responded. Then he told the Golden Lion some basic information about the Kingdom of Prudence. After learning about the situation in Prudence Kingdom, Shiki frowned and took a deep breath from his cigar. "A raid is the best option. We must evacuate immediately after grabbing the supplies we need." A fierce light flashed in his eyes, and he finally decided with a cold face, "Let's leave some interns behind. Whether they can survive depends on whether they are smart or not." The corners of the Golden Lion's mouth raised a cruel arc. After hearing Golden Lion's decision, Akoku naturally understood his intention and whispered, "I will arrange this matter. This operation is doomed that some pirates will become abandoned and become victims of attracting and blocking the enemy." A decision was made. Golden Lion and Akoku returned to the front deck of the pirate ship. Akoku knocked on the gold deck with his sword, and the clanging sound attracted the attention of all the pirates on the deck. He said loudly, "Young men, prepare to fight. Ahead, there is a rich island waiting for us to plunder. There are a lot of treasures there, beauties with curvy figures, and your favorite rum." Having been a pirate for so many years, he naturally knows how to stimulate these villains. Really, hearing this, the pirates on the deck had green gleams like wild wolves in their eyes, and their faces became excited. A pirate held up the bright long sword in his hand and said happily, "Watching Ares fighting, my blood is boiling. I have long wanted to find someone to get addicted to." A pirate next to him joked, "You practice hand speed at night, aren't you addicted enough?" The pirate immediately looked embarrassed, and then said with some annoyance, "In this robbery, not only do you have to get addicted to your hands, but you also have to get addicted to guns." "Hey, are you talking about a serious gun?" Silver Axe immediately showed a lewd smile and teased the pirate. A burst of laughter suddenly erupted on the deck. Akoku coughed, attracting the attention of all the pirates, and immediately said loudly, "Let everyone eat and drink well later. The weapons should be wiped and sharpened. If anyone's sword is not fast, I don't care if someone loses his head." Quote. "Besides, check your guns carefully, don't let them go off. Next, let me arrange your tasks. Talk about the other side." On the Marine warship, the military doctor bandaged Zepha's wound. After applying the medicine, circles of bandages were wrapped around Zepha's wound. Zepha said to Garp with a gloomy face, Garp, notify Fleet Admiral to request support. The Blood Hand Ares has grown up, and the threat to Marine and the world is too great. Zepha's body not only has the scars left by Akoku's slash, but also the burn marks left by Ares, dragon breath, and injuries caused by various collisions. What frightened him the most was Ares' terrifying learning talent. He had learned several 6 moves in the past few days, and as a devil fruit user, he was able to ignore the restraint of sea water. It simply broke Zepha's cognition. Not just Ares, for justice, to prevent the world from being destroyed. The entire Rocks pirates must be destroyed. Dad, I think Mr. Zepha is right, we should ask Marine to send more manpower. Drag looked at his father, Garp, and agreed with Zepha's suggestion. These days, he also learned about Ares' terror from Zepha. Within a month, that guy's strength had undergone earth-shaking changes. Reborn. To this day, Dorag can't forget the fact that he was kicked in the face by Ares. What's even more disgusting is, not only did my training volume increase several times, but my father also harshly compared me with Ares and scolded me. And educate yourself with the iron fist of love. Looking at Zepha's injuries, Garp had to accept the reality of Ares' strength and agreed, well, I will contact Fleet Admiral now. Then I picked up the phone and started contacting each other. Fleet Admiral was also shocked when he learned that even Zepha was seriously injured in the hands of Ares. He knew Ares' information very well. The Phantom Beast Devil Fruit really made this fledgling guy become a strong man that cannot be ignored. Realizing the seriousness of the problem, Air Force Fleet Admiral immediately agreed to the request for support and said in a deep voice, I will let Lieutenant General Prodi support you. Your mission is to arrest as many members of the Rocks pirates as possible, and Bloody Hand Ares. Hearing that the support sent was Lieutenant General Prodi, Garp grinned, Prodi, with his support we will definitely be able to arrest Golden Lion, Ares and others. Hang up the phone. Marine Fleet Admiral Cyborg Kong felt extremely heavy, The Rocks pirates have grown into a great guy again. Even so, for the sake of justice, I will also try my best to destroy the Rocks pirates. He used a phone bug to contact Lieutenant General Prodi and asked Prodi to go to support Garp and others. However, as soon as the notification was finished, another phone buzzed. When Cyborg Sora answered the phone, when he heard the content of the phone bug, his expression suddenly changed. He stood up from his chair and shouted angrily at the phone bug, what? Rocks led people to attack the Kingdom of Ellis. The CP troops are already on the way to support. Do you want our Marines to rush to support immediately? The burly and muscular body couldn't help but tremble. The Kingdom of Ellis is one of the more than 100 countries that have joined the world government. Fleet Admiral gritted his teeth and muttered to himself, is Rocks planning to declare war with the world government? The power of a kingdom was controlled by Rocks, and the world government member countries were captured. It will definitely make the whole world boil. Bang! The angry Kong punched the table hard. Rocks, are your ambitions beyond wealth? No, he must be stopped. He then said to the phone bug, tell the people in the Kingdom of Iris that they must insist on Marine support no matter what. Cyborg Sora hung up the phone and walked out of the office, while contacting the Marine General and the warships that were preparing to set sail. However, Golden Lion, Akoku and others had no idea about the incident where Rocks led people to attack the world government member countries. On a pirate ship, the injured Ares was immersed in the battle in his mind, and he learned a lot from the battle with Zepha. Within a short period of time, even if his learning talent is astonishing, he cannot apply the 6 styles to the level of a master like Zepha in a short time. Ares not only watched and replayed the battle between himself and Zepha in his mind, but also connected the 6 moves used by CP9 in the Judiciary Island chapter. Lucci can use the finger gun to achieve the effect of flame attack, and turn the finger gun from a melee attack into a long-range attack. I can definitely do it. Besides, Zepha seems to be using the 6 styles and secrets, which is much more powerful than the 6 styles and secrets used by Lucci, the 6 King's Spear. He replayed the scene of the two using the 6 styles and secrets over and over again. This power is also the power of the body. How do they form this power into that special shock wave? The power of 6 styles and mysteries far exceeds that of 6 styles, and its attack power and destructive power have increased by more than 1 level. Let ordinary boxing be used as a long-range strike method like slashing. One is physical training. One is swordsmanship. There are huge differences between the two, but they have the same purpose. Aries feels that if he can master this power, his strength will definitely be improved again, reaching or even surpassing Zeph's strength. He has some vague understanding, but now he can only glimpse a corner of the vast, physical skills. Sudden, a voice interrupted Aries, intracranial training. Boss Aries, what are you thinking? Kaido sat next to Aries, and he noticed that Aries seemed to be in a daze for a while. Aries came back to his senses, turned to look at Kaido, and said, I'm thinking about how to develop devil fruits. I always feel that I haven't fully utilized the full strength of the blue dragon form, so I'm thinking about how to develop and use the power of devil fruit. Kaido rolled his eyes and expressed his opinion. The Qinglong is so huge, if it rotates, it will definitely set off a terrifying storm. When Aries heard this, his eyes suddenly lit up and he said excitedly, yes, why didn't I think of that? If you rotate your body quickly, you will be able to stir up the airflow in the air and form an extremely terrifying storm. Kaido, your suggestion is really great. He happily reached out and patted Kaido's thick shoulder, his emotions rising. Aries, whose memory was stuck at the end of the war on top, had no idea that Kaido was the holder of the fish fruit, phantom beast species, and blue dragon form in the anime. Kaido chuckled. Actually, I think, when Boss Aries transforms into the form of a blue dragon, there will be thunder clouds all over the sky. Why not try to control the power of thunder and lightning? Thunder and lightning are one of the most terrifying natural forces in the world, possessing destructive power. One word awakens the dreamer. Aries stared at Kaido with surprise, and praised, Kaido, you really reminded me. So you are so smart. He had always thought that Kaido, who had challenged him many times, was an iron fool, but now he discovered that Kaido's IQ was definitely not low. After Kaido's suggestion, Aries also opened his mind in an instant. He knew very little about devil fruits, so he directly copied his original fighting method and applied it to the devil fruit form. The ability of the phantom beast blue dragon form devil fruit has not been completely mastered by me. He laughed happily and praised Kaido. Kaido, you are really smart. Do you have any other ideas? Aries looked at Kaido with burning eyes, wondering if Kaido had any other suggestions for the development of devil fruits. Hearing Aries' praise, Kaido also smiled triumphantly. Hey. I think that since the flame cloud can carry Boss Aries flying in the air, it can also lift other things in the air, and then like Captain Shiki. Letting huge rocks, ships, etc. float in the air, and then letting them fall from the sky can also cause huge destructive power. In this regard, he also learned from the ability of the golden lion's fluttering fruit. The flame cloud can also make things float in the air, and can also achieve such destructive effects. The larger the size and weight of an object, the stronger the destructive attack effect caused. Kaido even thought about making an island float, but that kind of thing. The difficulty is quite great. It can be called a destructive force. After listening to Kaido's suggestion, Aries nodded and smiled happily. Yes, this is a good idea. After I recover from my injury, I can try some of the methods you mentioned. Use the devil fruit's abilities to their maximum potential, instead of just relying on strong physique and defense. His face was filled with excitement, waiting for him to recover from his injury. Aries plans to combine the 6 styles and Kaido's suggested methods with his devil fruit abilities. A triple fusion of physical skills, sword skills, and devil fruit abilities. He himself was a little eager to try it, looking forward to seeing such results. Kaido had a look of envy in his eyes. When Aries was unconscious on Beehive Island, he also learned about Linlin's attempt to attack Aries. Let the phantom beast devil fruit fall into the hands of Aries. He even awakened the conqueror's haki that far exceeded his own. For him, it was a painful blow again and again. Kaido also thought about surpassing Aries. However, he failed again and again, coupled with witnessing Aries' terrifying talent, persistence in his dreams and almost outrageous training methods. He had to admit in his heart that he might not be able to surpass such a talented and self-disciplined monster in his life. Kaido believes that Aries can create a world of his own, between Linlin and Aries. He chose Aries. Looking at Aries immersed in thinking, Kaido also hopes that Aries can bring out the power of the devil fruit and become the strongest creature. At the same time, I felt longing in my heart. I wonder when I will meet my devil fruit. At this time, Aries fell into thinking, and Kaido's words indeed gave him a lot of inspiration. It seems that he is too focused on the recovery ability of the animal type and phantom beast type devil fruit, and ignores many other powerful abilities. Then how to control the power of thunder and lightning? How can we combine swordsmanship and the skills of the 6 styles with the power of the devil fruit? This is what he is thinking about in his heart. Once these problems are solved, it will be time for strength to advance by leaps and bounds again. And Aries couldn't help but think of his dream, linking his ability with his dream. If you use thunder and lightning to temper your body, wouldn't it be more effective than fire? As this thought emerged in his mind, he suddenly thought of Bruce Lee, in the memory of Li Yong, because he also had the same surname of Lee. This led to Li Yong admiring Bruce Lee very much. There is also something vague about Bruce Lee's electric shock training, but there is no accurate and detailed record of what happened. Aries is formulating an exercise plan for his body in his mind. My body is so strong. Maybe this exercise method is feasible, but before trying the lightning strike exercise, it is better to finish the pyrotechnics forging training first and then try it again. Quote, the pyrotechnics training had only lasted a few days. Since staying on the pirate ship, he had not burned his body with flames. One is because he has to fight Zephyr, and the other is that he must ensure his combat effectiveness, plus the reason why the fire may burn down the pirate ship. On board, Aries also used iron rods to hit his body or do some weight training as before. At this time, Akoku walked towards Aries and said to Aries and Kaido, who were sitting on the deck, Aries, you don't need to participate in tonight's operation. Just stay on the ship and recuperate. Kaido, you are responsible for taking good care of Aries. Kaido looked at Aries, who was bandaged, extinguished the fire in his eyes, and assured him, Captain Akoku, don't worry, I will take good care of Boss Aries. If you want to fight, go ahead and join in. My injury won't bother you. Aries looked at Kaido. He knew that Kaido loved fighting, even grand wars. He also had no interest in plundering. The strength of those people was so weak that he couldn't even raise his spirits. And since he merged with some of Li Yang's memories, he has become somewhat resistant and disgusted by what pirates did. But he gradually understood that from the moment he became a pirate, they are already evil and disgusting pirates, villains, etc. Everything I eat and drink is stolen from the rocks pirates, from civilians, or protection money. That is not much different from robbery. Aries, who integrated some of the memories of Li Yong, also learned how cruel and realistic this world is. It's not just pirates who are evil. The harm caused by the celestial dragons, dark forces, noble kings, gangs, racial discrimination, class rule, special rights, etc. are all very serious. Aries sighed inwardly. Once you make a choice, it's like shooting a bow without turning back. It is already destined that the label, pirate, will always be attached to him and will not change. As a teenager, he had more memories and experiences than others. My inner feelings are like a little old man. And at this time, Kaido still insisted on his opinion and said, it's just a robbery. I have joined the Rocks Pirates and experienced it many times. What I long for and look forward to is an epic war. And I also hope that one day in the future, I can become the leader of a magnificent war. This vast ocean is large enough to accommodate the different pursuits of many people. It is a perverted and deformed world. These dreams and pursuits are inseparable from everyone's growth experience. And Kaido is a war fanatic. Chapter 91. Everyone has his or her own chance to play, and that day will come. Ha ha, but now, it's the era of Captain Rocks. Akoku laughed when he saw the energetic young kid making such bold words. There was a whistling wind in my ears. Because the entire pirate ship is floating in the sky, it was the Golden Lion Shiki who used his floating fruit ability to turn the pirate ship into a tool for flying in the air. The Rocks Pirates were able to grow to such an unprecedented level and become the overlord of the sea. It is also inseparable from the ability of the Golden Lion. His ability makes the Rocks Pirates invincible. This time Rocks asked the Golden Lion to lead the team on a mission, not only to attract Marine's attention, but also to make Marine lower his guard. Aries looked up at the sky. If it were just Aries, in this world, he might just be as obsessed with building himself into a famous sword that surpasses the unparalleled sword. But after integrating some of Li Yang's memories, he began to become inexplicably sentimental. I always think about something unconsciously. Akoku also turned around and confessed to the other pirates on the deck, "We will arrive at the kingdom of Prudence soon, everyone, be prepared." He did not tell the pirates the time of the robbery. Only some official crew members and elite pirates knew that the entire robbery could not last more than 3 hours. Although the ability of Piao Piao fruit can make ships fly in the air, the speed is only a little faster than sailing on the sea. After Marine realizes that the pirate ship has disappeared, he will definitely catch up. The pirates on the deck are gearing up to snatch treasures and enjoy all kinds of delicious food and wine. The amount of robbery also determines the length of time they can enjoy it. All pirates are eager to steal a lot of treasure. Happiness is often based on the pain of others. When the world exploits and oppresses them and causes greater pain and life becomes more desperate, their revenge will bring more evil to the world. A few hours. Under the cover of the moonlight, you can also see several huge lighthouses standing on the island. The searchlight of the lighthouse sweeps back and forth on the sea. If a ship appears on the sea, it will be discovered as long as it approaches the kingdom of Prudence. However, but they were unable to detect the pirate ships flying in the sky under the dark night sky. The pirates on the deck all stopped making noises, leaving only the sound of wind and breathing. Just like a pack of hungry wolves trapped in a cage, once they are released, they will start fighting and snatching crazily. Ares also felt that this voyage was different from the last one. Last time there was a relaxed and joyful atmosphere, but this time it was obviously a real pirate experience. Being chased by marines and looting materials and treasures. Golden Lion and Akoku stood at the bow of the ship, and the speed of the pirate ship began to slow down. Putting the telescope on his right eye, Akoku looked down at a huge city on the island, and said with a heavy expression, "We can't tell the situation in the city, we can only randomly select an area." Although the night brought them a lot of convenience, it also had shortcomings, and it was impossible to distinguish the function of the building. We can only guess based on experience where there will be a lot of materials and wealth. The king's castle is naturally excluded from Akoku. There will definitely be a lot of valuable things there, but it is also the place with the most and strongest troops. Time is limited. Supplies of fresh food are what they need most. The Golden Lion with his cigar still in his mouth stared coldly at the royal capital in the dark night, and then decided, just pick a place. The most important thing is fresh vegetables and fruits. There are a lot of meats in the sea. After Akoku nodded in agreement, he turned around and motioned to the pirates on the deck to get ready. Then, everyone felt the pirate ship begin to lower its height. In the end, the pirate ship landed on a square, causing a tremor on the ground and waking countless people up from their sleep. A bloody disaster caused by pirates took place in this city. Screams, cries, fear, the sounds of muskets and cannonballs broke the silence of the city. On a pirate ship, Kaido couldn't help but stand on the deck and look at the situation outside, and said with a dull expression, "Such a unilateral crushing and massacre battle is really meaningless at all." With Captain Akoku's character, this operation is so cautious. He deserves attention. This kingdom will definitely not be that simple, Ares said. Time passed little by little, and after many pirates returned their belongings to the ship in large and small bags, they turned around and continued to join in the robbery. Ares could clearly see the greed and desire on the faces of these pirates. And getting stronger and stronger. Suddenly, there was a loud explosion that shook the earth. Boom! Ares stood up and took a look. Several 3 to 4-story buildings about 10 meters high fell apart and shattered in an instant. Turned into countless tiny gravels. Kaido on the side looked surprised and exclaimed, "What is that, power?" The house was blown to pieces. It's not Brother Shiki's ability, nor is it Captain Akoku, Ares concluded immediately after seeing such a scene. Shiki and Akoku are both good at swordsmanship, and their slashes can easily cut apart houses, and Ares can do it himself. But several houses that were connected together were broken into pieces. You can only use the power of devil fruit. And people with this kind of power will never be weak. Ares' face also became serious. It should be the defense force of this kingdom, and there are also strong ones among them. Less than a minute, a burly man wearing a golden crown appeared in his sight. Behind him were a group of soldiers armed with spears and guns and wearing armor. I am Elisabella I, king of the kingdom of Prudence. You evil pirates invaded my country and brought disaster to my people. Disappear from this world completely today. The leader, King Elisabella I, had an angry face and not only made a boxing posture while speaking. The whole person's skin turned strangely red, accompanied by white-hot steam lingering around the body. Seeing such a scene, Kaido said to Ares beside him, Ares, this guy's condition is similar to yours, but his skin is not as red as yours. The skin on the body is red and the body is full of heat. Kaido has naturally seen Ares, bloody armed, state. The situation of the guy in front of him who claimed to be the king of Prudence was somewhat similar, which made him extremely curious. Wrong. Ares stared at Elisabella I with all his attention, and then his expression suddenly changed. Not good. He is accumulating physical strength. When he sensed something was wrong, 4 words also popped out of Elisabella I's mouth. Fist of the King. As soon as the words, Fist of the King, came out, Elisabella I also swung a right hook like a boxer. A shock wave visible to the naked eye instantly shook the air. Boom. The shock wave formed by the terrifying fist force was like a bulldozer, breaking open the solid ground in the square and splashing gravel into the air. A terrible ravine was also formed on the ground. Seeing this, Ares jumped up and suddenly transformed into a dragon form in midair. This is our pirate ship, you will never be allowed to destroy it. Although this punch wave was very powerful and terrifying, Ares couldn't just watch the opponent destroy the pirate ship. He was injured all over and stood in front of the shock wave without hesitation. The energy runs through the arms. The left and right hands made claw-striking movements in tandem. Brilliant sword lights suddenly burst out from Ares's claws, and 8 huge blue sword lights of about 10 meters in front and back crossed in an X shape to meet the fist wave. Boom! The violent collision caused the stone slabs in the square to crack suddenly. Affected by the impact of the explosion, the center of the energy collision spread in all directions in a circular destructive manner. Same as Marine Zephyr, blasting out a shock wave with his fist has the same effect. The strong wind passed over Ares's face and shirtless upper body, and his eyes were fixed on the center of the explosion. This attack method is called Punch Wave by Ares. This is also the second person he has seen use his fists to unleash such an attack. He also understands that physical skills can also have super destructive power and powerful long-range attacks. The dazzling light produced by the explosion illuminated the square under the night sky. Whether it was the pirates left behind on the ship or the soldiers under Elisabella I, they couldn't help but squint their eyes, or put their hands in front of their eyes to block the light. The light fades. Ares stared at Elisabella I with burning eyes, keeping the other person's every move firmly in his mind. He still doesn't understand the secrets inside, but he believes that one day he will be able to understand the secrets and make stronger attacks. He actually blocked my punch that I had been charging for a minute. Elisabella I looked at the ferocious monster in front of him with a surprised expression, and then smiled coldly. Pirate, tell me your name, you are qualified to die with your name. The soldiers behind him looked at the opposite Ares in horror, who was huge, with muscles all over his body, most of his body covered with blue scales, and his face was full of fierceness. This pirate is a devil fruit user. He actually blocked the king's attack that had been charged for a minute. The soldiers who knew that Elisabella I was powerful were very surprised. They had seen too many pirates beaten to pieces by the king's punch. Ares, with a hint of excitement on his face, replied forcefully, Bloody Hands, Ares. As soon as this name came out, a look of surprise appeared on Elisabella I's face. The Rock's pirates. Bloody Hand Ares, with a bounty of 40 million Baileys. He grinned with a confident smile. Very good, if I hand you over to Marine, the bounty will be enough to make up for tonight's loss. Time passed quietly for almost a minute. The white heat coming out of his body gradually increased, apparently in the process of accumulating strength. Bang! A loud noise sounded next to Ares, and it was Kaido who appeared next to him. Kaido jumped off the ship, his weight directly crushed the stone slabs on the ground. Boss Ares, you are injured, please leave this guy to me. Kaido, carrying a huge mace on his shoulder, stepped forward and stood directly in front of Ares. He was originally bigger than Ares, and his huge height of 7 to 8 meters also brought a sense of oppression like a ferocious beast. Ares frowned and said, Kaido, this guy is very strong, so leave it to me. Don't worry, although I'm not as strong as Boss Aries, I'm not weak either. Kaido grinned, his ferocious face making people's hearts palpitate in the dark night. He added in his mind, what's more, you are still injured. How could I, Kaido, not stand up in this situation? He put down the mace on his shoulder, and charged like a wild bull between steps, making a thumping sound on the ground under his feet. It gives people a terrifying feeling that the ground is shaking. Kaido has a thick neck and thick shoulders, and the muscles on his arms are knotted. They bulge as high as an inflated tire, rather than a balloon that is superficial and bursts when poked. The bulging muscles have obviously become harder and harder, like steel, containing amazing power. Raising his arms high, he raised the huge mace and smashed it towards Elizabeth one with great force. Once hit by such a terrifying force, he would definitely be smashed into a pulp. 1.5 minutes. Elizabeth whispered these 3 words, then bent his arms and stretched them backwards. Somewhat similar to the red and hot arms in a high fever state, huge veins appeared on the skin like thick ropes. The king of fist, punch out. Kaido's dropped mace encountered huge resistance and stopped in midair. The next second, his huge figure was immediately overwhelmed by the punch wave, blasted by Elizabeth. Under the impact of the fist wave, the rock-hard muscles give the visual effect of rippling and twisting like water waves. A second or two, Kaido flew out like a cannonball, and the huge mace in his hand also came out. Boom! Kaido flew out and collapsed several houses. He can only be handsome for 3 seconds. Kaido was sent flying with one punch. Kaido. Seeing Kaido fly out, Aries' expression changed drastically and he hurriedly ran towards the place where Kaido flew out. The soldiers under Elizabeth began to cheer excitedly as if they were relieved. The pirates all turned pale, and cold sweat was pouring out. Although Kaido is a newcomer, but his strength cannot be underestimated, and he definitely has the strength to earn tens of millions in bounties. Just like that, he was completely knocked away by the opponent's punch. People can't help but have strong fear. Bang, bang. Aries opened up pieces of gravel and his golden vertical pupils shrank suddenly. I saw Kaido on the ground with bright red blood flowing from the corner of his mouth, and his eyes were white, just like a dead fish rolling its eyes. Feel Kaido's heartbeat and breathing. Aries breathed a sigh of relief, reached out and patted Kaido's face, making a snapping sound, and shouted, Kaido! Kaido, wake up quickly. And at this time, Elizabeth was still accumulating strength, with a look of disdain on his face, and mocked, all cats and dogs come to challenge my fist of the king. Don't overestimate your capabilities. Snap, snap. This is not some kind of movement, but the sound made by Aries slapping Kaido's face. Even if he restrained his strength, the hand the size of a cattail fan slapped Kaido's face, making a big noise. Kaido, wake up quickly. Kaido. No matter how much Aries screamed, Kaido didn't wake up. The impact of this blow was too damaging. That guy's punch wave is so powerful. Aries put his arms around Kaido's waist, lifted Kaido directly on his shoulders, and walked out of the ruins. Saw Aries appear. Elizabeth said with strong confidence on his face, It's been 2 minutes, Aries, you are much stronger than this overestimating pirate. I decided to defeat you with the king's fist that has been charged for 3 minutes. As the energy accumulated for a longer period of time, the heat permeating his body began to escape to the surroundings. It gave the whole air a vibrating feeling. Aries, however, jumped up on his own, flew into the air, landed firmly on the pirate ship, and placed the unconscious Kaido on the deck. Time passed quietly. The momentum of Elizabeth's accumulation of energy became more and more astonishing. 3 minutes. At this time, Aries also jumped from the boat onto the square. Aries' amber golden vertical pupils reflected the figure of Elizabeth. His exposure to physical skills came from the white-bearded Newgate. Newgate also opened the door to the world of physical education for him. Let him know how to control the power in his body, how to punch, dodge, use his body to offset attacks, etc. And a month's time, Aries did learn a lot from Newgate, but Newgate himself was also a wild man, and relied entirely on combat to learn. And its own powerful Paramesha devil fruit, shock fruit. This is the limitation of pirates. Most pirates do not have systematic learning or guidance from teachers. They all learn from battles. Very dependent on talent. Fighting can indeed make people grow quickly. After all, it is a battle of life and death. After all, most of the people who become pirates are civilians, even refugees, and slaves, the bottom people who are severely exploited. There are also some fallen, nobles, bankrupt, merchants, captured, kingdoms, etc. 2. People with wealth and status will not give up everything easily and live a precarious life of tying their heads to their pants and licking blood from their swords. Like Ares, before joining the Rock's pirates, he fought with wild beasts and learned some primitive, savage, and violent fighting skills from the beasts. The control of one's own body strength is very simple. More than a month. He also learned a lot of skills through training with Garp and Zephyr, who were trained in the marine school system. What impressed Ares the most was naturally the 6 styles mysteries performed by Zephyr. The extremely destructive fist wave with long-range strike means made him understand that taijutsu is not just about using the power of the body to make various punches and kicks. Physical skills can also possess unimaginable terrifying power. Ares stared at Elisabella I intently, thinking in his mind, he is obviously accumulating his own power, which is different from Marine Zephyr's attack. But the power of such an attack is indeed very strong. I must understand this power. The Elisabella first life in front of me is a bit similar to casting forward swing, which takes a long time. But Zephyr is different, he can burst out powerful punch waves, one after another. The common ground between the two is very obvious. The lethality and destructive power brought by the boxing wave far exceed that of ordinary boxing. Ares is also eager to understand this special fighting technique. Superman's memory allows him to remember the state of Elisabella I at this time. The disadvantage is that he cannot know the situation in Elisabella I's body. 4 minutes. While Ares was thinking and analyzing, Elisabella I had already accumulated strength for 4 minutes, making the look of confidence on his face even stronger. He turned to Ares with a look of pity on his face and said, "It's a pity that I originally wanted to get your reward to make up for the losses caused tonight. It's a bit regretful now that I can't collect the 40 million bounty, because now you are destined to be blown to pieces by me." 4.5. The blood gurgled in his body, making a sound like a rushing flood. 5 minutes. The name of Bloody Hand Ares will be removed and disappear in this sea. Fist of the King. The terrifying punch wave is like Linland's violent overlord, crushing everything. The rippling air creates a spatially distorted visual impact. The earth was once again devastated, this time even more severely, and the gravel was directly crushed into powder by the terrifying fist force. Faced with this menacing and powerful punch, Ares didn't dare to be careless at all. Armed with blood hands, the blue scales on his thick arms turned a heart-stopping blood red. White heat also filled the arms. As the muscles tightened, the blood boiled and accelerated, bringing tyrannical power into the arms. Scarlet arms, Qinglong fist, the divine dragon sees its head. As Ares fired a fierce and domineering punch, the airflow in the air caused ripples like water waves and spread from the top of his fist. Bang! A sound that resounds through the sky will shock the eardrums of everyone in the entire city. The force of the fist overflowed, and the violent wind generated was like a stormy sea, so terrifying that it swept the surrounding soldiers into the air and made all kinds of screams and sounds of fear. The devastating scene shocked everyone who saw it. This blow let Ares clearly understand how terrifying and powerful the fist wave, wielded by Elisabella I is. At the same time, his body couldn't help but become excited, and his red and heart-stopping arms suddenly swelled. "Break it for me," Ares roared happily, and the surging power contained in his body poured down his arms into his fists, and poured out along his fists. The punch that was thrown out suddenly moved forward more than 10 centimeters under the fist wave. The whole arm is stretched and straightened. The king's fist that Elisabella I had accumulated for 5 minutes was shattered by Ares's violent punch, like a torrent. One punch shattered the punch wave. Elisabella I was instantly shocked and exclaimed in disbelief, "What? My king's fist was shattered." He is confident that his king's fist is enough to easily kill a pirate with a bounty of over 100 million. Seeing his king's fist shattered by Ares in front of him shocked him. This kid is so powerful. Why is there a bounty of 40 million Baileys? For a moment, Elizabello once scolded the person who issued the bounty order to Marine. Is this the kind of power that a Bailey pirate with a bounty of 40 million can possess? How about playing? What's going on? This is not reasonable at all. A pirate of this level would have to offer a reward of 2 to 300 million to start with, right? That kind of reward amount is reasonable. On the contrary. Seeing Ares displaying Kamui, he punched and shattered the shock wave that defeated Kaido before. The pirates were immediately relieved, and their original heavy expressions immediately disappeared. They were all overjoyed and started flattering Ares. Awesome, well done Ares. Ares, let them have a good look at the power of the bloody hand. Monsters are monsters, even if they are injured, they are still so powerful. Compared with the pirates who have high morale, the soldiers under Elizabello I have low morale one by one, as if they are in a dream, everything feels so illusory and unreal. The next second, the pupils in Elizabello I's eyes trembled slightly, and the ferocious-looking Ares with the ferocity of a beast roared towards him. Like a tiger descending from a mountain. Those, blood-red, arms are wrapped in fierce wind. At this moment, Elizabello I's face became panicked. He couldn't block the king's punch that he had accumulated for 5 minutes. Now that he didn't have enough energy, what could he do to resist the opponent's powerful punch? It's too late to say it, but it will be soon. He reached out and picked up a soldier on the side, threw it towards Ares, and shouted in panic, "Go! Hold him down! Only 10 minutes. Let me accumulate my strength for 10 minutes, and I can kill him." The soldier who was thrown out looked desperate. He was about to open his mouth and scream, but Ares hit the soldier with a powerful punch. Bang! There was a sound like a balloon exploding, and the soldier's body exploded like a blown balloon. A red mist of blood filled the air. While Ares was being blocked, Elizabello I hurriedly retreated and distanced himself. While accumulating strength, he shouted at the soldiers who were frightened to the point where their faces turned sallow and their legs were shaking like chaff, "That guy is extremely powerful. Brutal pirates, don't forget that you are soldiers of the Kingdom of Prudence. Your mission is to protect this country. As soldiers, you must protect this country and your home even if you sacrifice your life." Under the shouts of Elizabello I, the soldiers clenched the firecrackers and spears in their hands. Although they mustered up a little courage, they were inevitably disappointed in the face of the monster, Ares, who punched people into meat dregs. My heart was filled with fear. Those who were swept by Ares's golden vertical pupils, like snake eyes, felt as if they were being electrocuted and their whole bodies were numb, and the skin on their bodies and faces felt as if they had been scraped by sharp blades, and they did not dare to interact with Ares. Look at each other. The arms are blood red, the chest looks like a yellow snake, but the back and the back of the arms are covered with blue scales. The whole, dragon form, looks very weird and uncoordinated. It makes people feel intense fear and fear from the bottom of their hearts. Bang! The gunfire rang out, and I don't know which soldier's hand was shaking so much that he accidentally pulled the trigger. The sound of a gunshot made the nervous soldiers around tremble with shock. Just as he was stunned by fright, the lead bullets quickly flew in front of Ares. Ares slightly raised his scale-covered arm, and the bullet hit it with a crisp sound and fell to the ground. The eyes that shot out like sharp swords fell on Elizabello first. Ignoring the soldiers around him, the ferocious dragon had a strong excitement on his face and said in a slightly hoarse voice, "I'll give you 10 minutes to charge up." After saying this, Ares stood quietly in place like a wooden stake. His words, everyone around, whether they were soldiers or Ares's group of pirates, looked surprised. A pirate yelled at Ares, "Ares, that guy's attack is so powerful after 5 minutes of charging. I'm afraid the power will double after 10 minutes of charging. It's better to kill him now to avoid causing further complications." Other pirates also echoed, "Yes, the longer that guy charges up, the stronger his attack will be, but we can't let him keep charging up." They are even more eager than Ares to kill Elizabello I, so that no one can stop them from robbing and threatening their lives. At this time, even Elizabello I, who was accumulating power, cast an unexpected look at Ares. This Ares, who is bigger than an elephant, has clearly seen the power of his king's fist, and he dares to do so. So arrogant. He has already labeled Ares as arrogant, and arrogant, in his mind. He smiled coldly in his heart. "Just wait, you will pay the price for your arrogance." My punch that has been charged for 10 minutes can destroy even a solid steel castle. And Ares was not only concentrating on Elisabella I's physical condition at this time, but also recalling his Fist of the King in his mind in this dangerous environment. What kind of technique can make his fist so powerful? With the strength of my body, I should be able to perform the same attack. What I lack is the skill to perform this kind of attack. In a few days, he learned several techniques in the 6 postures. The control of one's body has improved a lot. Most of what a person uses when swinging a fist is the strength of the upper body, and the most is the strength of the arm muscles. There is not much power transmitted to the arms from other parts of the body, or this power has not reached a huge increase. Perhaps, understanding this power can not only make my attacks more powerful, but also strengthen my body. This is also the reason why Ares chose to wait for Elisabella I to accumulate power. He experienced the power of the Fist of the King twice, but it was still not strong enough or clear enough. He decided to personally test and feel the power of King's Fist, and learn to understand this technique. If you can master this technique, when all the power contained in the body is unleashed, the attack it can cause is absolutely terrifying power that destroys the heaven and the earth. Time passed by minute by minute. Many pirates returned to the pirate ship because of the previous news, and learned from other pirates' mouths that when Ares allowed the other party to accumulate strength, they also tried to persuade Ares. Akoku, who was the first to arrive, also walked up to Ares, took out the straight giant sword in his hand and said coldly, "Ares, I told you before. You must not have any kindness towards your enemies." The huge sword glowed with a cold light. Akoku knows that Ares is still young and does not yet have a clear understanding of the cruel survival rules of pirates. His whole body exuded a terrifying cold aura and terrifying murderous intent. The swordsman in golden armor, Akoku. Seeing the appearance of Akoku, Elisabella I became nervous, with drops of cold sweat on his cheeks, and became a little panicked. The leaders of the Rocks pirates. Did Akoku appear too? The reputation of Akoku, who has a bounty of 180 million belly, is countless times more famous than the name of Blood Hand Ares, etc. Elisabella I Street's eyes suddenly widened, a look of fear appeared in his eyes, and he suddenly remembered something. This huge pirate ship appeared in the square. Could it be? Is that guy here too? Thinking of this, his heart suddenly rose to his throat, and the sudden laughter made his hair stand on end. Gia ha ha ha. Golden Lion Shiki had appeared on the roof of a house at some point, and rubber barrels were floating in the sky behind him. There are probably hundreds of them. Not surprisingly, these wooden rubber barrels contain food and wine. Brother Shiki. Seeing the appearance of the Golden Lion, Ares also shouted happily. Shiki also quickly flew to Ares's side, and under his control, the rubber barrels flew to the deck of the pirate ship and were stacked on top of each other. Ares, leave this to me. You are still injured, but you must not affect your recovery. The Golden Lion holding a cigar said domineeringly. A pair of menacing eyes like a lion stared at Elisabella I eagerly. Elisabella I suddenly felt as if he had fallen into an ice cave. Being stared at by the Golden Lion made all the blood in his body seem to freeze under the strong and cold murderous intention. He could only remain silent, secretly accumulating the power of the King's Fist. Ares turned his head and looked at the Golden Lion, with a firm look in his eyes and said, "Brother Shiki, just let me fight him. I have a reason to fight." The skills of the King's Fist were full of powerful attraction and temptation for him. The shortcomings of this boxing technique are obvious, but they do not hinder the fact that it is a very powerful physical technique. Out of concern for Ares, Akoku directly intervened and refused with righteous words, "Ares, don't be ridiculous. You just had a battle with Zephyr, and your injuries haven't healed yet. Don't act out of anger." The Golden Lion also turned to face Ares' golden pupils. He saw determination and a burning desire to fight in Ares' eyes, and grinned, "Brother Ares, go fight to your heart's content. I believe you can win." Shiki. Akoku looked at the Golden Lion in surprise. He didn't expect Shiki to agree to Ares' request, and he wanted to dissuade him. The words of the Golden Lion rang in his ears, "Gia ha ha ha. Since you want to fight, then go ahead and fight to your heart's content. Akoku, if you do anything with absolute certainty, you will lose your passion and motivation. The moment you became a pirate, Did you ever think about what would happen in the future? Everyone has a different personality, and he knows that some people are destined to go through challenges and tribulations again and again before they can grow into a man who is independent enough. Aries gave him a feeling very similar to Marine Lieutenant General Garp, and also similar to Newgate during the battle. If you are sure of winning every battle, you will lose something. Just past Yi J. Aries he. Akoku still bluntly tried to dissuade him, but before he could finish his words, he was interrupted by the Golden Lion. Needless to say, I believe Aries. Shiki believes that he will not be wrong, and he also believes in Aries. No reason, or maybe this is the intuition and tacit understanding between men. Aries spoke with a sonorous and powerful voice. I want to be the strongest person in this sea. I want to build my body into something that can surpass the supreme sword. I will not give up any opportunity that may allow me to fulfill this dream. When he said these words, there was a sick and mad look in his eyes, as if this dream had become an obsession that could not be erased. Aries in the dragon form also has a magnificent masculine aura slowly rising from his body. He knew that these two techniques, King's Fist and Six-Style Secret, would definitely be very helpful to his dream. The technique of manipulating the body and controlling body strength would definitely help him. The human body and metal and iron tools are completely different things. The human body is very complex, which also gives humans the terrifying power to conquer the sea and destroy mountains and split seas. I want to forge my body into a famous sword that surpasses the supreme big sword. It's very difficult. It's an almost impossible path. But Aries just wants to conquer this road. He doesn't want to follow his father's path and forge the 21 skills of the sharp sword just to make wedding clothes for others. Even if you create a supreme large sword with 12 skills, it is just a weapon. A weapon that could be lost or taken away at any time. Only by forging your own body into a famous sword can no one take it away, or even surpass the 12 skills of the supreme large sword, and become the only one in this sea. If you want it, it will be unparalleled in the world. You have to be unique. If you want it, you must surpass everything and become the strongest sword. Aries looked at Elisabella I with ferocious eyes like a beast, and said calmly, it's been 8 minutes, you still have 2 minutes. The momentum and fighting spirit rising from him. Akoku looked at him sideways, and finally gave up the dissuasion. Instead, with a touch of expectation and a self-deprecating smile on his face, he sighed in his heart, how can I restrain Aries with my own ideas and thoughts? If Aries loses his determination and fearless character, will he still be able to fulfill his dream? Will he grow into a lion and a tiger? He put away the sharp sword in his hand and put it back into the scabbard. The Golden Lion also looked at Elisabella I, who was accumulating power with great interest. Looking at the other person's red state and white smoke coming out of his body, he also roughly understood why Aries wanted to be with Elisabella so firmly. Luo first battle. He took a deep breath from his cigar and said, interesting, it's very similar to Aries' bloody armed state. But it's a completely different technique. Does Aries want to learn this skill from Elisabella I? As Aries' half-master, Shiki certainly knows that Aries' learning ability is really strong and abnormal. He understands it deeply. He also witnessed Aries secretly learning the 6 styles technique from Zephyr. The corner of the Golden Lion's mouth raised slightly, and he glanced at Aries from the corner of his eye, thinking, Aries' domineering spirit is different from normal domineering. I hope Brother Aries can cultivate this special, domineering spirit to a higher level. It's really exciting to look forward to what will become of such domination in the future. Aries has also been taught the normal armed color hockey, but he seems to like that state where the blood all over his body is boiling and the blood is hard. Therefore, Aries, the normal armed color hockey, has not been practiced at all. Aries has learned so many things that his progress looks like a terrifying monster to outsiders. However, so far, Aries has indeed not cultivated any kind of power to the point of being a truly top powerhouse, if it were not for the ability of the fish fruit, phantom beast species, and blue dragon fruit. There was no way he could fight for that long in the hands of Marine Reserve General Zephyr. With the consent of Golden Lion Shiki, all the pirates became bystanders, quietly watching the battle that was about to break out. With Golden Lion Shiki and Kadri Akoku present, they were not worried at all. Elizabello I lowered his eyebrows, trying not to let Ares, Shiki and others see the triumphant look in his eyes, and sneered in his heart, hold on. The longer it takes, the better. Then you will know how powerful the fist of the king really is. He tried his best to hide the blazing murderous intention in his heart. As long as he accumulated his power long enough, even if rocks were in front of him. Elizabello I is also confident that he can kill the opponent with one punch. That's all. The square formed a very strange and quiet state. 9 minutes. Ares has been observing the state of Elizabello I with fascination, even the details of the capillaries that are gradually bulging on his body. Including the bulging muscles on his body. As the energy accumulated for a longer period of time, Elizabello I's arms swelled several times. When he bent his arms, he could clearly hear the sound of the rope tightening. And Ares' ferocious face was also full of excitement and high-spirited fighting spirit, and the two long black dragon whiskers were stirred by an invisible momentum. It's coming. At this moment, the blood in his body couldn't help but begin to flow faster, as if even the temperature was rising. His mood became more and more exciting, and his eyes shone with astonishing brilliance. He likes this feeling. This is the feeling of blood boiling during fighting. He also likes the stinging sensation brought by blows, and the satisfying feeling of punching and punching to the flesh. The noise generated when Elizabello I was accumulating power became louder and louder, and the entire ground began to vibrate, creating a sense of frustration. A confident smile appeared on the corner of his mouth. Hey, pirates. Your arrogance has doomed you. I will be in the newspapers tomorrow. The news that Elizabello I eliminated the leaders of the Rocks pirates will appear on the front page of the newspaper, and my name and my country are destined to be famous throughout the sea. It takes 10 minutes to finish. Ha! The Golden Lion looked at Elizabello II with disdain, and said sarcastically, I said. Where do you get the confidence to kill us? Not even Marine Fleet Admiral Cyborg Kong dares to boast of such a sea. You don't even know who this arrogant guy is. Then he snorted unhappily. Ha, if Ares hadn't wanted to keep you and let you fight with him, Lousy would have chopped you into pieces. Shiki also looked at Ares and smiled. Ares, hit this guy hard with your fist later. Good. Only one word came out of Ares' mouth. Immediately afterwards. Everyone present heard the roar of Elizabello first. Arrogant pirates, go to hell. The king, fist. He charged up and punched out, releasing a bright golden shock wave that instantly illuminated the entire square. Phew, this punch is no longer just a punch, but a terrifying energy impact similar to a qigong wave. The intense light hurts the eyes. This terrifying golden energy impact caused the Golden Lion's face to change suddenly, and his eyes were full of surprise and surprise. What a powerful punch. He also subconsciously drew out the two swords at his waist. In a flash of lightning. This terrifying shock wave has already appeared in front of Ares. Ares's hands and arms carry the power of bloody weapons. The more powerful Elizabello I's punch is, the more inexplicably excited he becomes. He shouted wildly. The bloody armed force, the Qinglong boxing method, the overwhelming tide. The muscles and bones all over his body exploded, making a heart-stopping sound. The two fists were like green dragons coming out of the water. Dozens of fist shadows were blasted out in the blink of an eye, and the fist shadows were like red dragons. Every punch is powerful, fierce and domineering. The terrifying fist force brought with it the sound of breaking through the air, and the air vibrated violently, making continuous, bang bang bang, sounds. Crazy release of the power in the body. Dozens and hundreds of red fist shadows formed an airtight defense. Bang, 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 every punch hit the energy wave blasted by Elizabello I. The pirates and soldiers affected by the bright and dazzling light couldn't see what was going on. He only felt strong winds like sharp knives striking his body. My mind was in shock. Some gravels were even as powerful as bullets, causing many people to be hit. Ares's face showed an unruly and domineering look, with overwhelming fighting spirit, and he punched one after another mechanically without any pause. In just 1 second, he can throw dozens of punches. And the power of each punch is enough to easily smash a marine warship. He let out the power in his body to his heart's content, but he also felt that his power was draining away rapidly, and he did not stop. The violent collision caused the blood, muscles and even the internal organs in Ares's body to vibrate violently, and his body was really like a river turning upside down. The pain and discomfort it caused stimulated his nerves, but instead brought a sick sense of pleasure, excitement, and even a feeling of refreshment. This punch is not enough. Come again. Ares looked crazy and shouted excitedly, enjoying the joy brought by the battle. One punch to the soul. But he felt it was not enough. At this moment, Ares's momentum was unprecedentedly high, and his fighting spirit reached its peak. He punched hard and withstood the terrifying shock wave from Elisabella I, approaching Elisabella I step by step. He didn't know how many punches he had thrown. Maybe thousands of punches. Power works miracles. The power in his body exploded brutally and violently, and he used his fists to block the shock wave. At this moment, Ares is really like the god of war. Use your powerful fist to smash everything. Approaching step by step, repelling the energy shock waves, shortening the distance between him and Elisabella first. When Elisabella I saw Ares's red eyes, he saw that his king's fist was continuously defeated by Ares, and the smile on his face disappeared. True feelings reveal intense fear. The golden shock wave light shines on Ares' body and is reflected by the scales. It feels less like a scary monster and more like a god. What kind of monster is he? 10 minutes of energy storage. Why was he able to block my king's fist? Ares keeps approaching, making Elisabella I feel a little depressed. The next second, his eyes widened instantly, reflecting Ares' war god-like figure, and a terrifying and suffocating sense of oppression instantly enveloped his body. A shadow covered him, under the dim moonlight. Ares's blood-red eyes and ferocious face were so frightening that Elisabella's body could not suppress the trembling. Devil, Elisabella I, whose scalp was numb with fear, murmured with a horrified expression. Akoku, I said if Brother Ares can win, he will definitely win. You have to believe that he can create miracles. The golden lion raised a smile on his lips and said to Akoku with a proud look on his face. As a master, he knows more about Ares' strength than Akoku. The reason why monsters are called monsters is because they have something special that ordinary people don't have, and they have strong strength and firm will. Of course Shiki knew that there was huge danger in Ares' actions, and those who hesitated in the face of danger could never become truly strong. His eyes were full of admiration. These days, Ares' strength has been constantly improving. Isn't this because he is keen on fighting and ignores the danger? Listening to the golden lion's words, Akoku couldn't help but smack his lips. Ares is simply a fighting madman. His potential is also released and tapped through combat. I wonder what the limit of this guy's potential is. Ares's rapid growth has been maintained, and it is showing an increasingly fierce momentum, with no sign of weakening. This is also extremely scary. Human potential, of course, is unlimited. The golden lion grinned and looked at Ares excitedly and expectantly. Under the darkness of night, Ares transformed into a terrifying devil. When the sole of his foot fell, the ground exploded, and countless things sputtered in all directions like cannonballs. With just a casual movement, you can feel a strong, brave, and terrifying aura like a ghost. Coupled with the ferocious face in the dragon form, it makes people's liver and gallbladder burst. Elisabella I was also 3 meters tall, but facing Ares, he felt like a non-aggressive, little white rabbit, at this moment. And Ares is that ferocious giant carnivore. It made him tremble with fear. Unprecedented fear arose in my heart. This guy is not human at all. He is just a humanoid tyrannosaurus, a devil. Why would someone possess such terrifying physical power? Ares looked down at Elisabella I condescendingly. The sharp dragon teeth were stained with traces of scarlet blood. It was obvious that he was also injured. The blood-red blood actually made him a little more ferocious, adding a little more ferocious aura. Tell me the skills of the king's fist. Eyes like red lanterns stared at Elisabella I, flashing a heart-stopping red light. Under Ares' ferocious beast-like gaze, Elisabella I's cheeks overflowed with cold sweat, and his face turned pale. There was obvious hesitation and struggle in his fearful eyes. If the fist of the king is learned by a creature with terrifying power like Ares, then he will definitely be so terrifying that it is unimaginable. Elisabella first said with trembling lips, "The king. The fist of the king." Ares also opened his eyes fiercely, his intimidating gaze piercing Elisabella I's body like a sharp sword, and shouted, "Speak quickly." His eyes were full of enthusiasm for power, and he couldn't wait to know the secret of the fist of the king. That is the power that can truly bring his strength to another level. If we say that Ares now has the strength of the 4 emperors' cadres in the anime. Once you master the secrets of the king's fist, you might be able to truly become the emperor's lieutenant. Ares doesn't know his specific strength. He only knows that it is enough that this thing can make him stronger. Not so many twists and turns. Right now, a loud shout sounded. Can't tell him. This voice instantly attracted everyone's attention, and Ares was very familiar with this voice. It was Marine Reserve General Zephyr. The sound of the galloping wind rang in his ears, making him frown. Turning around, he saw Zephyr flying rapidly at low altitude like an arrow, with his raised black arm heading towards him. Ares also knew that Marine support was coming. A light flashed in his eyes, and he shouted excitedly, "Let's fight." He raised his red arm and turned around to meet Zephyr's fist. Bang! The pleasure brought by the collision of fists was far greater than the energy impact, and Ares's blood-red eyes were ignited with a fire of fanaticism. Dragon breath. Even the temperature of the flames sprayed from his mouth suddenly increased a lot. There was a heavy look in Zephyr's eyes. Ares, that guy has gotten so strong again. He didn't understand why there was a guy with such a monster growth rate. Almost every battle he goes through makes him stronger. The temperature of this flame is getting higher and higher. If it continues to grow like this, the temperature of this flame will soon surpass the temperature of magma. Zephyr smashed the flames into pieces with one punch, and his weapon-color domineering, external, technique prevented his fists from touching the flames. The scorching flames scattered around could melt even stones, turning the ground into pits filled with holes of different sizes. At the same time, a large number of Marines rushed in and fought with the pirates. Marine Lieutenant General Garp also took the lead and faced off against the Golden Lion. Akoku also drew his sword without hesitation and ordered, "Everyone, retreat. Get back to the ship immediately." Whoosh! The sword was slashed out, and the bright sword light fell on several Marines. The Marines who were hit by the sword light were bleeding like springs and fell to the ground one by one. Many pirates swarmed towards the pirate ship. The scene was quite chaotic for a while. That silver axe. I don't know where he went to look for women again. What an LSP. Akoku couldn't help but cursed in his heart. That guy hasn't shown up yet, and I can tell from his butt that he is making his second brother happy. Akoku glanced at Ares, who was fighting Zephyr, with a look of worry on his face. Ares fought one after another today and was seriously injured. We can't let him continue fighting. And, even though his physical strength is very strong, there are still limits after all. He jumped and soared into the air. The golden armor shone in the moonlight, and he raised the long sword in his hand and struck towards Zephyr. Akoku also shouted towards Ares, "Ares, now is not the time to fight, get back to the ship quickly. If you drag it on, there will only be more and more enemies." His sneak attack forced Zephyr to get out of the way. Ares did not take this opportunity to sneak attack Zephyr, and nodded to Akoku, "Captain Akoku, I understand. I will go back to the ship after everyone else has evacuated to the ship." He knew that he would have many opportunities to fight against these strong men in the future. The only regret he had was that Marine's intervention prevented him from obtaining the Fist of the King technique from Elisabello first. Ares looked back at Elisabello I, who was looking surprised at this moment, and said to himself, "No matter what, I will learn that skill. If I can't learn it, I will come to this country again next time." After the silver axe returned, the pirate ship once again flew into the air under the control of the Golden Lion and disappeared into the night. On deck, Ares looked at the injuries on his body, frowned, and reflected, "My body is still not strong enough, otherwise I would not be injured and affect the battle. If my body is strong enough, I can keep fighting. Even if I fight for 10 days and a half, there will be no problem. Such a long-lasting battle will definitely be very exciting and joyful." His heart longs for such a lasting battle, and the enjoyment brought by such a battle will definitely be very happy. Such lastingness has made countless book lovers in front of mobile phones drool with envy. The battle with Elisabello I and the battle with Zephyr again made Ares' injuries a bit worse, despite his strong recovery ability. However, this kind of recovery ability is a kind of growth state. It does not mean that eating the animal devil fruit will have the recovery ability like the 4 emperors Kaido in later generations. Devil fruit abilities need to be developed and tempered before they can continue to become stronger. At the same time, it is also related to its own power, which is why there is a saying that, there are no garbage devil fruits, only garbage users. The power and intensity displayed by the Shishao fruit in Ace's hands and Sabo's hands are completely different. Give Kaido an ordinary animal type, Madara, and he will be able to defeat Logia's Fire Fist, Ace. At this time, Aries just wants to recover from his injuries quickly and then start training. Exercise your body and make it stronger. Goo goo. Goo goo. Aries' stomach made an untimely sound at this moment, interrupting his train of thought. He reached out and touched his stomach, and a strong sense of hunger swept through his nerves. It seems that I have consumed too much, and I am hungry again. Suddenly, Aries' eyes lit up. Wait. Consumption. Food can replenish the power I consume, so, food is also part of the power. Then if my body can store this food and convert it into strength at critical moments, I will have more strength than before. When this idea appeared in Aries' mind, it was out of control. To explain it in a scientific way, it is the law of conservation of energy. But this does not prevent Aries, who does not understand science, from verifying the idea in his mind. This is an idea. It is also destined to open a door to the new world for him. Looking at the truly strong people, they are all good at drinking and eating. These things actually also contain energy. For example, Whitebeard, Red Hair, Kaido, Linlin, Garp and other strong people. Totally countless. On eating and drinking. That's definitely a big foodie. The energy requirements of a strong person's body are far beyond those of ordinary people. Aries had a look of intense surprise on his face, then stood up and walked to Akoku and said, Captain Akoku, I'm hungry, I need food. Akoku was indeed speechless, and his face turned darker at night. Before the operation, everyone on the ship had a feast, which basically consumed all the remaining supplies on the ship. Less than 4 hours have passed. Aries is hungry again. Akoku looked at Aries' 8 bulging abdominal muscles, twitched the corner of his mouth and said helplessly, I will immediately ask the chef on the ship to prepare it for you. He really had a headache. Aries might have to eat up a lot of food on the ship during this meal. Then, Akoku said, Aries, when you are full, go to the sea and get some bigger fish. Yeah, no problem. Aries smiled happily, then I'll have fish for my next meal. Although most fish meat has thorns, for Aries, those thorns were swallowed in 2 clicks. This time, Aries did not gorge himself as usual, but felt the changes in his body while eating. With surprise on his face, he said to himself excitedly, after eating the food, my recovery ability has become much stronger, and my strength is also recovering. Food is really important, but how can we store the power of food? After verification, another problem emerged. The first thing Aries thinks of is the stomach in the human body. The stomach is the digestive organ of the human body. Food enters the abdomen from the throat. I can store food in my stomach, but I have to control my stomach not to digest the food and wait until the critical moment to digest it. This should be able to turn it into strength at critical moments. So, Aries started eating slowly for the first time, historically, when the food entered his stomach. He will deliberately start to control his stomach and not digest food. But the stomach has already developed a digestive instinct, and what Aries has to do is not only get rid of this instinct, but also control his stomach organ. At the beginning, as soon as the food enters the stomach, it is absorbed by the powerful digestive capacity of the stomach. And Aries also deliberately paid attention to the feeling in his stomach. Having practiced physical skills and 6 postures, his ability to perceive and control his body is definitely not weak. After repeated attempts, the digestion speed of the stomach began to slow down. This meal, Aries ate for several hours, and this time he ate even more food than before. Almost 2 truckloads of food were swallowed. Aries lay contentedly on the deck, with his bulging belly as if he was pregnant with decuplets. He was very happy because he had found another way to make himself stronger. Lying on the deck, he looked up at the bright moon. He felt very comfortable. If my body can store more food energy, maybe I can boil Zephyr to death. Even Garp, Shiki, Newgate. I can beat them all. Of course this is a theoretical statement, but Aries doesn't care so much, just try it slowly in the future. He is still young. Aries also knows that the most important thing for him is to increase the hardness of his body, so that no matter how others attack, he will not be injured. That is the real way, the way to invincibility. Use your powerful body to suppress all forces. While he was resting quietly, he kept replaying the previous battles in his mind, and he also got a glimpse of Elisabella I's Fist of the King. Days passed by in a blink of an eye. Akoku hung up the phone and said excitedly to the Golden Lion, "Shiki, there is news about the Roger Pirates." Not only the news about the Roger Pirates, but also the news about Captain Rock's and Aries' bounty have also increased. But there is also some bad news. Akoku's mood was a little high. In fact, these pieces of news were all good news for them. The only thing that worried him was the bad news. Yeah, the cloudy face of the Golden Lion became much softer, and he blew out a puff of white smoke and asked, "Tell me, what good news is there?" The good news is that Captain Rox has conquered a kingdom. Not only has our territory increased, but our manpower, wealth and armed forces have also increased. Akoku said excitedly. This means that the Rox pirates have become more powerful. Having a kingdom will greatly enhance the strength of the Rox pirates in terms of supplies and manpower. The Golden Lion lowered his eyebrows and said with a smile, "It seems that Captain Rox has planned everything a long time ago. While we were attracting marine, he raided and captured a large chassis. It really makes people look forward to the time when this entire sea will be plunged into war. With Captain Rock's ambition, sooner or later he will encounter the behemoth world government, and he may be able to accomplish a feat that no one has accomplished in more than 700 years. Akoku also continued. As for the news about Aries, his bounty has been raised by marine to 220 million belly. He looked a little emotional and said sadly, "It has only been more than a month since I became a pirate, and the bounty is already higher than mine." He has been wandering around the sea for so many years, following Captain Rox for many years, and the reward so far is only 180 million baileys. He was surpassed by Aries, who had just joined the Rox pirates for more than a month. I never thought that a newcomer would rise as fast as a comet. The bounty has increased. It is indeed a good thing. Aries' reputation has become more and more famous. I really look forward to when this boy Aries can truly become a feared pirate on the sea." The Golden Lion said with a smile on his face. An expectant smile. He believes that Aries will continue to become stronger and will make major events that will shock the world in the future. At that time, the name of Aries will also be thoroughly penetrated into the hearts of everyone on this sea and become a legend. Fame and dreams. Nature is what pirates value most. I have never been bothered by the increase in bounty, instead it has become a symbol of strength and reputation. Let's talk about the news about the Roger pirates later. Let's talk about the bad news first. Golden Lion asked. At the mention of the bad news, Akoku's face became serious and he said in a deep voice, "The bad news is that Marine has given up on retaking the kingdom of Illis and is increasing its troops in an attempt to eliminate us. Newgate has been pursued by the wise General Sengoku, and the other side has obviously increased its troops. Charlotte Linlin has already brought people to support. Captain Rox is currently still in the kingdom of Ellis and cannot send anyone to support us, so let us invite Roger and return to Beehive Island immediately." This is indeed bad news. Although the Rox pirates are powerful, Marine's power should not be underestimated. It can even be said to be the real sea overlord on this sea. Marine can easily obtain information, supplies, and support from various places. They also have a wide variety of talent. It's really not good news. The Golden Lion frowned and took a deep breath of cigar to relieve the heavy emotions in his heart. Then let's complete the mission and return to Beehive Island as soon as possible, and let's see what Captain Rox has planned next. Full sail. Let's meet the Roger pirates. On an island with lush vegetation, it looks like a primeval forest. Laugh. Silver light flashed past. A large amount of blood spattered from the throat of a several-meter large beast, and it fell to the ground with a roar. The heavy body made the ground tremble violently, causing countless birds to fly away. "Hey, Rayleigh, your swordsmanship seems to have improved a lot." The speaker was a muscular man wearing sunglasses and a black ponytail, with 2 axes on his back. It was none other than Copper Jabba, a member of the Roger pirates. There was a smile on his face, and the corners of his raised mouth revealed bright white teeth like a crescent moon. And in front of him, Standing there was Rayleigh with blonde hair, sunglasses and a deep V turtleneck. The most peculiar thing was that Rayleigh's beard had 4 vertical lines. There is some progress, but it is far from enough. Rayleigh had a confident smile on his face, which revealed his yearning for stronger swordsmanship. Jabba stepped forward, grabbed the head of the beast that fell on the ground with his arm, and said teasingly, "Go back first, Captain Roger's belly won't be able to wait long." The two returned to the shore with the hunting beasts. At this time, Roger was sitting on a stone with a carefree attitude, and a group of pirates in front of him sang a happy pirate song. In his hand is a huge drawing. At this time, Rayleigh came over, carrying a wine bottle, and sat next to Roger. He handed a bottle of wine to Roger and asked, "Captain, are you still studying the words carved on the stone tablet?" Taking the wine from Rayleigh, Roger said with a bright smile on his face, "Yes, I always feel that the words on that special stone always have secrets. It seems like someone wants to tell us something through the words on the stone tablet. Pity, we have asked many scholars about the writing on this, but they are unable to decipher this writing." He opened the bottle cap with one hand and started drinking with a skillful movement. Rayleigh also looked at the text in Roger's hand, smiled and consoled him, "Don't worry, this sea is so vast. Since someone left this kind of writing, there must be someone who can decipher this kind of writing. They must be somewhere in this sea, waiting for us to discover and finally unlock the mystery of this writing." "Ha ha ha, Rayleigh, you are right, we will definitely unlock the secret." Roger laughed heartily, and then rolled up the paper on which the text of the historical text was engraved. "Place on the stone." He put his arm around Rayleigh's shoulders and said with a smile, "Rayleigh, come on, have a drink. It's my greatest luck in my life, Roger, to meet you." Rayleigh also smiled. Seeing Captain Roger's cheerfulness, he knew that he would have to drink to his heart's content today. He also raised the wine bottle in his hand and said proudly, "Let's see if I don't drink you drunk today. Etc. Add me one." Jabba also came over, holding a wine bottle in one hand and a newspaper in the other. "Jabba, is this the latest newspaper? Let me read it." Rayleigh had a look of interest on his face. After all, for the Roger pirates, most of the information they gathered came from newspapers. Jabba chuckled. "There is big news in the newspaper, and there is even a new member of the Rocks Pirates who has become famous recently. That newcomer is amazing. His name is Tianu Ares, and he has a bounty of 220 million belly. He is called Bloody Hand by Marine and World Government." Copper Jabba said and handed the newspaper to Rayleigh, with a happy smile on his face, and joked, "The interesting thing is, this guy actually has a bald head. The bald hairstyle is also an extremely rare hairstyle among pirates. Moreover, judging from the photos in the reward order, this kid is still very young. I don't know why he has such a bald hairstyle. Impress him." Tianu. Looking at the reward order in the newspaper, Rayleigh's mouth curved slightly with curiosity and said, "This is an extremely rare surname. The guys with a bounty of 220 million belly, the Rocks Pirates have been making a lot of moves recently, and the world government and Marine should also make moves. I asked why first haven't seen Marine these days. Even that guy Garp has disappeared. It turns out it's because the Rocks Pirates have started attacking countries that have joined the world government. They are really ambitious pirates." Seeing the news in the newspaper, Rayleigh's eyes flashed under his glasses. There is no doubt that the actions of the Rocks Pirates will start a huge tsunami that will shake the world. What interested him even more was Ares' surname. Sky and Moon. I have traveled to the sea for a long time and have been to many islands. The style of such a surname is very different from that of ordinary people. Rayleigh didn't dig into it. Many things and secrets will always be revealed bit by bit. With a drunken blush on his cheeks, Goldo Roger put his head next to Rayleigh's shoulder, looked at the newspaper in Rayleigh's hand, and grinned, "Ha ha ha. The bald little guy is so big. A braised egg." Holding the wine bottle in one hand and covering his stomach with the other, he burst into laughter. The laughter seemed to have a strange magical power. It made the atmosphere of the entire banquet more joyful. He laughed and said, "Such a strong and tangible body of muscles, but he has a big bald head. What an interesting guy." The photo of the reward order clearly shows the bulging muscles of Ares's upper body, and the lines perfectly outline the well-defined muscles. A whole muscular man. What is in proportion to this perfect golden figure is a bald head, which is indeed a bit incongruous. Infected by Roger's laughter, Rayleigh couldn't help but widen the curve of her mouth, and said, "The bounty for Ares the Bloody Hand has increased too fast. This guy must be very strong. If you really encounter him, you have to be careful. To measure the strength of a pirate, in addition to fighting in person, the only way to judge is the amount of the reward in the bounty order and what he has done. Marine would not increase a pirate's bounty for no reason. There must be some reason they don't know. The newspaper only gave Ares' reward order, but did not report the reason why Ares' reward was increased. Marine's face is a very important thing." Roger put his arm around Rayleigh's shoulders and said, "Let's read the newspaper later. Now, enjoy this happy banquet first." Rayleigh smiled, put down the newspaper, and then took a big sip from the wine bottle. "Roger, after we finish traveling this sea, let's go to West Blue. There is an island called O'Hara, which has the largest number of scholars and the largest and most complete library in the world. Those scholars should know the words on the stone tablet." He knew that Roger was extremely interested in the writing on the stone, or Roger's natural and powerful intuition told him that there must be a secret in this kind of writing, which made him full of persistence in deciphering the writing on the stone due to his strong curiosity. "Ha ha, then let's go to O'Hara when we travel to the end of this sea," Roger decided happily with a laugh. "My heart was also full of surprises, and I saw the hope of unlocking the special words on the stone." He held up the wine bottle and collided with the wine bottles in Rayleigh and Jabba's hands, making a crisp sound of glass collision. Drinking wine happily. When the banquet was in full swing and reached its climax, bang! The sound of a cannon fired interrupted the banquet. "There are enemies. Everyone, prepare to fight." Is it Marine? The members of the Roger Pirates are also tough guys who have experienced many battles. They were immersed in the banquet and instantly transformed into ferocious tigers. Gathered together, holding the 5-flowered 8 gates weapons. The Roger Pirates are also a pirate group with multiple races. After all, the racial discrimination in this sea has already penetrated into the bones of most people. Roger also stood up suddenly, standing on the boulder and looking at the sea. "When I saw the golden pattern on the sail of the ship in the distance, it was a skull surrounded by golden hair. Golden Lion, Shaki." Rayleigh's face was solemn as he said this extremely famous name on the sea, as that cannonball just for demonstration. A shell just hit the sea. After the cannonballs passed, there was no more sound of cannonballs, and they could clearly see a golden figure standing on the bow of the ship. Blonde hair and clothes blowing in the wind, showing an unruly and domineering attitude. And on the deck of the pirate ship, with a touch of excitement and expectation in Ares's eyes, he stared at the group of pirates on the island coastline and murmured to himself, "Are they the Roger Pirates?" Roger, Rayleigh. These two names made the blood in his body begin to boil inexplicably. Gall D. Roger, the man later known as One Piece, and Rayleigh, the man known as Pluton, took action against General Marine on Sabayati Island. Let Ares know that the other party is also a strong man. He is very strong in Conqueror's domineering and swordsmanship, which makes him eager to learn something from his opponent. Playing against Marine, I have never seen Conqueror's dominance. Meeting Rayleigh gave Ares an opportunity to improve his Conqueror's dominance. As the ship approaches, Ares also clearly caught young Roger and Rayleigh in the crowd, Roger without a beard, and Rayleigh with blonde hair. Some couldn't help but start to get excited. Ares's heart, which was as big as a football, began to beat faster. "The era of One Piece has not yet come. I will change everything. It will definitely shape an era that belongs to me." Kaido, who was standing next to Ares, naturally felt the changes in Ares. With the mace on his shoulder, he grinned. Boss Ares is still as full of fighting spirit as ever. He also started to get a little excited. Ares is not the only one who is eager to fight, under the influence of Ares. Kaido's desire and enthusiasm for fighting have also reached a new level. People with similar interests will always be firmly attracted together. Perhaps the gay love and friendship between men are so simple and unpretentious. The moment when Golden Lion Shaki saw Roger, it was as if there was an invisible spark bursting and shining in the air. Golden Lion Shaki grinned and shouted at Roger, "Gia ha ha ha. Gordo Roger. Shaki the Golden Lion, invite you to join the Rocks Pirates on behalf of the Rocks Pirates. He opened his hands domineeringly, as if embracing the whole world, and swore boldly. Let's turn this world upside down together. I hope everyone will support it and subscribe more.